We are live. We are unmuted.
We did it.
We did it. All
Hello,
right.
everyone. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday.
Yeah.
So, what the folks at home don't know is that we often debate, like, hey, what should we talk about before guests come on to kind of get the, folks interested that are maybe watching this after the fact.
Or, right now, trying to decide if they want to watch.
And so, I, unbeknownst to Adele, thought that maybe we could do something like they do on Sesame Street, where they bring you an episode started by a letter. So this episode is brought to you by the letter A, and the topic we'll start with is archaeology. I was actually wanting to talk about archaeology, but then for some
Okay.
reason, like the letter A thing came to mind.
Yeah. Not
So
sure that was necessary, but
okay, but there's so much cool stuff with archaeology happening right now. So, have you, I don't think you have because the library didn't populate yet, but have you read that Bible Unearthed book yet?
no.
Probably not. Okay. She's reading, brought to you by the letter A, the Apocrypha,
Okay.
which we're not going to start talking about yet because she's like 8 hours into a 42-hour thing?
I'm plodding through. I'm learning.
There's a
Well,
lot.
I wouldn't say I'm learning a lot. I would say I'm.
Astonished, also brought to you by the letter A.
Can you stop?
Nope.
Okay. Well, this is starting off great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm interested. There's a lot of stories that I didn't realize were in the Apocrypha that are like typical Bible stories, but told differently. We weren't going to go there.
We're not going
want to
there.
talk about archaeology.
Archaeology. So here's the thing. I grew up in a fundamentalist Christian home, and we loved Bible archaeology because Bible archaeology was set forth to prove that the Bible's stories were true. And thanks to William Albright, who actually, you know what? Kudos to William Albright. He went over into the Middle East. He did the best he could in terms of like digging through layers of rock and debris to discover tells, which are like obviously like the ruins of ancient cities, and did the best that he could at that time to like document archaeology. So that now this is in like the 1950s, and archaeology was really just emerging kind of at that time. It wasn't like super, I mean, it was scientific, but like now we have like rigorous methods where you have a meter by meter square. You are to state where you found something at what
Sure.
centimeter in the layer at what meter, and you can trace everything. It was not that sophisticated in the 50s when William Albright was doing archaeology. And there's some really good books out there by Josh Bowen. Fantastic archaeologist,
Oh,
by
we
the
love
way.
Josh Bowen.
Yeah, major shout out to Josh Bowen, Megan Lewis, Israel Finkelstein, my freaking archaeological hero. And he has many students now that are also doing incredible archaeological work in the Middle East, that are doing this rigorous archaeological study. So now what we're finding is some incredible new information about really what the landscape of ancient Mesopotamia, the ancient Levant, and Southeast Asia and the Middle East looked like at that time. And it's really painting an incredible picture. We've found tons of new documents from the Amarna letters in Egypt, which are around 1400 BC.
Letter of the day.
Yes. Ah, the letter of the day also starts with A, the Amarna letters. Dang.
Wow.
Okay, I could go off in the Amarna letters, but we also have the Ugaritic texts, which was written during the time of 1100 to 1200 BC, which is when the late Bronze Age collapsed. And we have all this interesting text coming out about what the landscape of Canaan and that area where like the Israelites supposedly populated, and what things looked like at the time. So super interesting stuff, but I wanted to share a resource, an online resource that I discovered recently. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Oh, crud. Hold on, guys. Sorry for cursing. Hold on. Okay, here we go. I'm going to see if I can share this.
Crud you.
Ah, crud. Okay. What I'm about to share with you is called the Geocron. Okay? Hold on. Let me share my screen here real quick. Sharing screen, share, Geocron, world history maps, share. Okay, I'm going to put it on the stage. First of all, I'm going to zoom in because this is terrible representation what I'm doing.
While you're getting that up, hello everyone. I see you all coming in. We'd love to have some chats tonight with anyone who wants to talk to us about their beliefs. In the meantime, my husband Josh here has some fascinating interactive maps to show us all about the history of. Help me fill in the
The
gaps, please.
world.
Okay, but like specifically as it pertains to religion.
Oh yeah, like well, the history of civilization in the world essentially. So let me show you here. Okay, so we're talking about archaeology because there's been a lot of advancements in terms of like what we have according to the archaeological record. We can base this off of I hate to say this because it's going to sound really lame, but like pottery is a big thing. Also, by the way, if any Christians are online and you are tired of hearing about archaeology and this world map, feel free to call in on the link above, and we would love to have the conversation and ask like why you still believe in this thing called Christianity. So, what was interesting to me, and I'm going to scroll in here. So, whoops. First of all, I realize I've never done this before on a tiny screen. so, so right now we have 2022, and you also have a map. It looks kind of like what it looks like today. But you can go back to negative 3000 BC. And what you'll see that I think is really kind of cool is that like the freaking Earth was not very populated at that time. Oops, let me zoom in here.
Shocker.
So really at 3000 BC, we basically had the Minoans, we had the Sumerians, and the Egyptians, which is kind of cool, honestly. Like the fact that the Egyptians have been like a society since 3000 BC is pretty amazing. So I always thought that like as a Christian, and by the way, Christians, call in. This is not a former Christian up here to rant to Christians. This is if you believe in
It's a
Christianity
platform to have a
still.
conversation.
Yeah, share your story and why you believe because this could be all irrelevant. I'm just filling time right now. But I always thought that like the Old Testament showed like history since the beginning of time, like Adam to the end of time, Revelation, or as our friend likes to call it, the musical apocalypse. Sparky, if anyone knows Sparky.
We love Sparky.
But what this does is this is strictly based off of archaeology and ancient texts, the tracking of human history throughout time. So starting with 3000 BC, now I'm going to have to zoom back out. By the way, this was not tested, guys, so this is live. This is live and raw. Della's already like thinking we should have tested this.
It's not so bad.
I'm thinking we should have tested this. How do I zoom out to get to the? Okay, here we go.
Oh, to change the gear.
Yeah, so I gotta zoom out. That's a problem. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. We're gonna zoom in on this. Sorry, y'all. I got this. Okay, we're zooming in. So in 3000 BC, there's nothing happening in the rest of the world. But zooming in. Okay. But if we go, let's say, what, 2960, negative 2940, negative 2910. Oh, all of a sudden we start to get some action. Okay, so we're at 2900 BC.
What pops in?
what pops in, it doesn't actually identify it. Hold on, let me widen this so that the folks at home can see.
The folks at home.
Doesn't really work. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. Hold on, guys. Okay. Okay. So we've got basically still Sumer. Okay, so we're 2900 BC. Christians, particularly those familiar with the Old Testament, I know there's probably not a lot of Christians familiar with the Old Testament, but if you are, would love to hear what you think is happening in 2900 BC if you're a Christian. Because right now, basically, we've got the Sumerians, and we're just going to keep the time rolling here. So Egyptians, there, the Egyptians are there. Minoans are there. I'd love to discuss Minoans with anyone who's a total nerd. Okay. Oh, okay. Now all of a sudden, starting in 2800, we have some cities. So this is possibly a little small on your screen, but we've got the city of Uruk, which Gilgamesh was the king of. Lagash, which by the way, Abraham comes from the city of So any Old Testament followers, this is where Abraham comes from. We're going to keep rolling. Viewership is at an all-time high right now because history sells. Sex, nothing. History definitely sells. So Abraham's coming from Ur at some point. I'm going to keep going. Nothing really is happening, guys. I'm going 10 years at a time. Christians, call in, please.
Save me.
Save Adele. Save the viewers from history. Because we're already to 2600 BC and
nothing.
Sumerians, that's basically it.
And Egyptians.
Egyptians are thriving, though. Look at this. They're over here in the green zone.
Well, they're kind of off on their own.
Holy smokes, they are living it up. No wonder they, ruled Canaan for so long. They had, 1,000 years head start on everybody. Where are the Israelites in 2500 BC? They're just, non-existent. Where's God? Where's this Yahweh? Non-existent. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Christians. Talk to me about the Old Testament. Apparently, the world is 6,000 years old. Okay, so just ancient Sumer. We're all just chilling. We're living our lives. Egypt's thriving.
You got something.
Oh, what happened? Elam. Elam pops up. Okay, 2300 BC. Elam pops up. The Elamites in the Old Testament buffs want to throw out some Elamite references. Not getting anybody. Also, you better.
I don't think anyone knows about Elamites. I am monitoring the chat. That's what I do.
It's just literally this. Starting with a letter, in archaeology. Man, there's not a lot of nerds out there. Okay, let's keep going. We're going.
Well, yeah, make a little more happen.
More. Okay, what the heck? All of a sudden, Sumer is gone, and in 2270 we have the Akkadian Empire. Okay. So most of you probably know the Akkadian Empire was the first real empire, right? And that's when Sargon, the first empire ruler, kind of came out and took over a big chunk of land. So Sargon the Great and the Akkadian Empire, okay? So still no Israelites, still no Yahweh, to the best of my knowledge. Christians, call in. What is Yahweh doing in 2270 BC?
What's he supposed to be doing?
Somewhere in here was the Garden of Eden. We've got the Tigris and Euphrates River in this zone, right here. But I don't see a Garden of Eden legacy happening.
Well, it's not on the map.
It's not on the map. This is a pagan map. It's actually just an archaeological map. Okay, but they didn't have any pottery, and they're long gone. Okay. So let's keep going. Oh, damn, look at that. Sargon takes over the whole freaking known world. Sargon the Great from the Akkadian Empire.
Akkadian?
Akkadian. I always say Arcadian. That's my bad. Okay. Let's keep going. Akkadian. But listen to this. Watch this, guys. Oh, damn. It took over Elam. Egypt got tossed for a second by the Memphis Society. But wait for it. Uh-oh. The Gudians and the Elamites just discord amongst the Akkadians. Classic intertribal discord, and the Akkadians disappear. All right. This was not supposed to be a history lesson. We're waiting for Christians to call in. We want to know why you still believe. We don't have to go Old Testament.
Well,
It,
we don't have to keep doing that.
true. Because Adele knows. I'll take you all the way to
Yeah, he will.
she's
I
been
would love some people to come and join, jump in the chat, jump in the queue, get them off the
all
map.
right. Here's what I'll do. I'll make a pact. If a bold Christian is willing to come up, I will shrink this down for 4 or 5 minutes. And if a Christian is willing to even chat in and just share why they think that Jesus is still worth following, the Christian Bible is real, I will stop talking about.
By the way, shout out to our friend Intrepid Chimp. It is their birthday today.
What?
Yeah, one of our favorite friends.
I love Intrepid Chimp,
They
and
are heading
yes,
out to dinner,
Big
but wanted to
W.
wish us some love and said they'll rewatch us later. So.
Wow, wow. Okay, well, Big W Intrepid Chimp. Okay, so Christians, feel free to use the chat. You don't have to call up if you don't want.
But you sure can.
You sure can if you want to.
It's kind of nice. Nice to have a conversation.
We're just a little bit interested as to why a person would still believe in something that archaeology, history, and science has proven.
Nanology says they deconstructed from belief by actually reading and studying the Bible. Same.
Also,
both of us also.
Yep, same.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Congratulations on deconstructing.
Also, and who was that mentioned?
Nanology.
Nanology. Also, was it difficult for you? I mean, for me, it was a difficult thing. It wasn't just like whoa, I'm just piecing out on this deal and easy breezy. I just dedicated 30 years of my life to this. I'm going to go ahead and just walk away. I'd be interested to hear what your, process was, and if it was difficult or easy. I'm actually trying to pull up our live stream right now so I can monitor the chat as well. Oh man.
It's fine. I got you.
All right, cool. All right. Christians, call in chat. I'll stop the history lesson. I'm going to scooch it a little bit forward.
Scooch it a little.
Okay.
Go farther.
So the Akkadian Empire starts to arise again. Okay. We're at 2000 BC. So for those Christians who are familiar with the Old Testament, you would think, according to the text, that at this time Abraham is probably wandering around. Again, Abraham came from the city of Ur, which is right here. Okay, Ur is right here if you can see on the screen. It was a Sumerian city. Now it's Akkadian. And it's been tossed back and forth a few times, but Ur is definitely one of the most famous cities. In fact, I personally think it's why the Israelites attributed Abraham to Ur, because it was a very sophisticated city and a very prominent city. So it makes sense that they would say that's where Abraham's from. But he's tropsing around right now. According to the biblical text, he's meandering about this zone somewhere between Ur and Egypt. And this is where kind of the whole patriarch starts, right? Now the question is, when does Joseph pop on the scene? When does Jacob kind of pop up? When do they get captured? Because according to the biblical text, we know that the Exodus occurred somewhere between 1400 and 1200 BC. So if the Exodus occurred somewhere between 1400 and 1200 BC, and right now we're at 2000, let's just bump our way up to 2000. Oh, damn. Y'all, check it out. I apologize if this is small on the screen. I'm going to zoom in. I gotta be able to zoom in. This big green blob that you see on the screen right now is what we call the Ur period, the period of Ur. So Ur, again, which is where Abraham is from in the text in Genesis, Abraham is from Ur. The city-state of Ur controlled this entire area. So this is massive. Now, one cool thing about this time period is we have a lot of really, really good text. There's some like awesome Hatfields and McCoy like city battles that occur, like city-state battles,
Oh boy.
going back and forth. And what's cool about this period is that the inscriptions that we have of them going back and forth, and of course, the victors are what we have the text from. They're like, and Marduk ruled over the battle with his winged beasts, and then laid waste to the enemy with the vultures. And there's like outlandish, and it wasn't demons because it was like gods and demigods in this mythology, but you get all this cool mythology between like these different tribes back then. But this is the Ur period, all right? So anyways.
Just wanted to say, see some more people popping in. We'd love to have a conversation to cut this guy off. He's on a weird history lesson, and none of us need that. So, welcome in, welcome in. If anyone wants to chat with us about why you do or don't believe anymore, whether you're deconstructing or you're a believer or you're somewhere on the spectrum, our call link's right here. We'd love to hear from you.
Otherwise, we're pressing on. I gave folks 4 or 5 minutes. Pop on. Christians, Abraham came from Ur according to Genesis, and this is according to the archaeological record and like ancient texts. We have a lot of really good information as to how like society like progressed throughout time. Love to hear your thoughts about what was happening potentially. Or screw the Old Testament. Let's just talk about the New Testament. I'm cool with that too. We'll just wipe this off the screen and talk about the resurrection. All right, so 2000 BC. Ur just takes over basically.
Egypt thrives again.
Egypt is just hanging out. By the way, getting rich. Guess what Egypt has in their like freaking natural resources? Gold. What human society didn't succeed without gold? I mean, saying. So Ur is just like chugging along, but now all of a sudden there's something right here, guys. It's a little blue dot, and it's called Ashur, or the beginning of the Assyrian Empire. Now, folks that like the Old Testament are going to get triggered when they hear the word Assyrian, because those are the folks that took over the northern 10 tribes of Israel. So, in 1970 BC, okay, so this is like 500 years, 500 years at least before the Israelites escape Egypt, the Assyrians show up on the scene. And these are the folks that eventually come and wipe out the northern 10 tribes of Israel. So, is Ur going to keep them under wraps, or are the Assyrians going to break free? Let's find out.
We may never know if you want to come up here and have a conversation.
Shut me down, folks. Shut me down. Feels like we're never doing this again.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this was.
Damn, it's really. I can stop. We can.
I know you're fascinated.
Should we stop?
Do you have an alternative topic?
We've still got viewers, which means somebody's interested. If there's that one person out there interested, throw a W in the chat and I'll keep going. If I get no W's, we are shutting it down. A single W. All I ask for.
Or a single caller.
Or a single caller. Okay. Assyria is on the scene. The Akkadian Empire, guess what? Inner strife, as per usual, starts to break apart. Now we have Elam's back. Assyria is on the scene. We keep moving. Mari. Do some research on Mari. It's a cool civilization. Egypt gets bigger. Egypt gets bigger. We keep moving forward. And now we've got a new player. And no one's going to recognize this one. Right here in the very middle, a little known country and city-state by the name of Babylonia. So now we've got both the Assyrians and the Babylonians on the scene. We are at 1800 BC, at least 400 years before the Israelites escape Egypt. What are your thoughts on this?
My eyes are glazed over.
Okay. Guys, I'm going to shut it down here. I say we pick it back up because I don't think, did we get any W's in the chat? I don't think we got any W's. Okay. I'm going to shut it down. Thank you for humoring me. But if anyone wants to see what happens after 1800 BC, boy, do I got some fun surprises for everybody.
Oh, I'm sure that it's meaningful.
That's meaningful.
Yeah, but nobody really wants to watch you zoom into a map. So, friends, thank you for being here. I do see we've got some new people coming into the chat. We are just ready to have some conversations tonight. If anyone wants to come up and chat with us about their beliefs or their journey into or out of beliefs or whatever that might look like for you where you are right now. Sorry, I have a very thick potato trying to steal the spotlight right now. Gracie, bring us viewers, bring us callers.
By the way, that is Gracie being comfortable. If anyone thought that was inhumane, that's just her chilling and being comfortable.
She's just awkward.
Yeah. We do not profess to have all the answers.
Or
We
any
were
answers necessarily.
Yeah, right, or any answers. We were Christian. We aren't any longer. However, the reason we have this channel is because we are open to logic and reason. We're open to your thoughts and experiences. A third of the world believes in
Uh,
Christianity.
in the meantime, why don't you tell me a little bit about that book you've been reading?
Oh, I am reading a book by Reza Aslan.
Is it the one about Muslims?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
called No God But God. Now, I'm reading the updated version, which the original one came out about 4 years after 9/11,
Oh,
which
interesting
was,
timeline.
yeah,
Okay.
Reza Aslan, to my understanding, based off of just internet research, so I don't know if it's true or not, but based off my understanding, is a Sunni Muslim that was a Christian for a time, approaches things with critical scholarship, and seems very balanced and by and large unbiased. Wrote the book the first time, No God But God, to try to explain the position of Islam in the world because there was obviously a lot of like hate out there
Post
after
9/11. Go
post
figure.
9/11, a lot of misinformation. Um, in reading the book, the revised version now, which expands and takes it obviously past 2005 to modern times, and have added a lot of information, I can see where it was written to try to help like people understand there's a difference between like fundamentalist Islam and extremism versus maybe the true intent of Muhammad. Um, but it's an interesting book. I didn't know much about the Islamic faith.
Yeah, you told me it was kind of like a slow, difficult read. Not that it wasn't like meaningful, but just not an easy read. That hasn't necessarily deterred me from wanting to dive into it because I feel like that would be really useful,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a topic to broach.
The part,
Um,
yeah.
we do have a chat from not the CIA, bro.
Oh, perfect.
How would you investigate the cases of pastors touching kids? Shouldn't be conducted by state or church. I would agree that I mean, it
It
definitely
didn't say should or
shouldn't.
shouldn't.
Definitely shouldn't be conducted by the church.
No. Yeah, a completely
Uh,
unbiased. I think child protective services or something like that.
but I mean, I do think that every single instance that is brought to investigation should be investigated. I don't care what denomination we're discussing. Hi.
Yeah, I would think
You
anybody who would say that it shouldn't be investigated by like a disinterested third party is probably a bad actor, I would think. So, yeah, good question. Yeah, shouldn't be conduct. Yeah, absolutely. No, great question. Ooh, and I finally got the chats up. I'm gonna shrink my map down so I'm not tempted.
Oh no.
Uh,
So, okay, so that's the same author who wrote that book that we just finished that was about Jesus being a zealot, essentially.
right. The thing that I like about Reza Aslan, and to my knowledge, I think this individual has 3 books.
Oh,
Uh,
there's three. What's the third?
it's relatively new. Um, but the way that the author presents things in the book that Adele and I both read is called Zealot, which is a historical perspective on the actual life of the historical Jesus. So we would prescribe to the fact that Jesus was a real individual that like walked the earth. Um, he wasn't some made up character.
Historical figure.
Yeah, historical figure. And Reza Aslan does a very good job of taking like the actual texts that are reliable and putting together a picture of like what the historical Jesus probably represented.
Critical analysis of the story.
And I think we read.
1 second, friends.
My froze, dude. Is that computer still live?
Nope, it's frozen.
Folks, we are live again, I think.
I think we are back. So sorry about that.
Give
We had a
a
little glitch. Give
give
us
a thumbs up or something in the chat if anyone's there and can tell we're live.
Thank you for hanging on for us to fix that little difficulty. So, friends, we want to stop this guy from pontificating and have like an actual conversation. So, anyone who's out there watching that wants to chat with us about what you believe in or don't believe in, or where you are on that spectrum, please feel free to call our link right there. And no judgment zone. You don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to turn your camera on. You can just pop up and chat with us and tell us what you're thinking about. In the meantime, we were talking about books we've been reading.
Right. Been diving into Islam a little bit.
Yeah, that's very interesting to me. I definitely need to do that. I I don't even know enough to be dangerous. I know enough to know that I think that the religion is dangerous.
That was the part that was a tough read for me,
Yeah.
is that like coming from Christianity where I was taught something to be true and then I slowly like realized that it wasn't, seeing another like people group uh being indoctrinated into another type of a faith was tough because I'm like, oh,
That's
here we go
exactly what you
again.
did.
It's like a freaking mirror image of the same
Same
story,
story. Yep.
only
Yep.
different.
Yep.
And that was the other part that was tough too, is it's like wasn't even different people. I mean, yeah, a lot of it's different people, but you even get like Abraham and Jesus and a lot of the same mythology, but that was interesting. I think after this, I think I'm going to go into like Hinduism a little bit,
Yeah.
because at least maybe I'll get some new characters. So I don't know, maybe more
Some new
interesting.
players in the
Yeah,
game.
new
Yeah.
players.
That could be interesting. Yeah, I keep thinking I'm going to pause on listening to this straight apocrypha.
But it's
And
pretty interesting though.
while it is, I don't know if I can listen to the whole thing all the way through without like some icebreakers.
Yeah,
It's pretty
maybe every
heavy.
10 hours, because isn't it like 30 or 40 hours?
Oh, it's some hours. It's some hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe a little break in there.
I mean, I'm down to 16, so I'm probably like halfway through. I could probably take a little break and like, I don't know, read your Muslim book to cleanse my palate.
Well, I'm interested if there are any Christians on the line.
Or
W-
anyone who likes the Apocrypha.
right. Yeah, definitely willing to talk about that. Some interesting stories, but like also feel free to chat in. Like why do you still believe, I guess, in this? Like, is it like a
What's
personal
meaningful or
experience?
convincing to you?
Yeah, that's kind of one of our questions, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, one of the things that's been interesting to me is like if the the folks that left Egypt, like if the Israelites that left
Hmm.
Egypt were like 600,000 men, because it only said men of fighting age. So this doesn't include like the old men or the young men. This is like the men of fighting age. So probably most of the men. But if there's 600,000 men, and back then usually they had more than like one child per family.
Oh, for sure.
Let's just grant that there's maybe like one and a half kids. And then
That seems low, but
each
sure.
male probably had a wife for the most part. So if you got 600,000 men, you've probably got statistically 600,000 women of fighting age, right, of that zone. And then one and a half kids. That's roughly like 2 million people. And if 2 million people left Egypt, that's like the population of like Austin, Texas, Cleveland, Ohio, Kansas City, freaking Las Vegas, Sacramento, California, Philadelphia. I didn't look at this up ahead of time. But there's quite a few cities
Surely not.
that are right in that like 2 million people. And the population of Egypt estimated at that time was somewhere around 3 to 4 million people total. So like if half or more than half of all of Egypt just like left, it's interesting to me that one, there's no archaeological evidence, but two, Egypt, which was exceptional at record keeping during that time. I mean, they had like tax records, records of like
Sure.
there was this really interesting story of like two slaves escaping, and they wrote it back and forth. We have like the letters between like the Egyptian palace and the different forts. There were like multiple forts along the route where they were writing back and forth. Like, we think that they're coming to you now. Oh, they must have made it past this blockade. They're going to go to the next place, and they're writing back and forth. And they managed to capture these two slaves and documented the whole thing. But yet, out of a population of 3 to 4 million people, 2 million Israelites left, and there's no Egyptian record of like all of the firstborns being killed,
Well,
the water turning to blood.
I have my reasons to think that there's no records of that because it didn't happen.
It seems news and noteworthy.
Mhm.
If I'm doing the Egyptian Daily Bulletin, on
Every
my
firstborn child was killed, but it didn't make a single headline.
nobody, people would be writing about that, like especially Egypt. We saw from our riveting historical map earlier that Egypt was there for like ever. You would think that if something like all the firstborns in Egypt got wiped out,
Yeah, you'd think someone would be talking about
yeah,
it.
Elam would write about it. Freaking Assyria would write about it. Like everyone in Babylonia would write about it. Like this wouldn't be just like, something weird's happening. I'm sure it's no
all
big
these
deal.
kids died.
Half of Egypt just walked out, and now they're wandering around in the desert. An entire city, a modern city, which by the way, back then, like if a city was over 40,000 people, that was a metropolis. 2 million people like step out. That's a big deal. Interested in thoughts on that. Also totally cool if folks just think that the Old Testament is allegorical. Perhaps it's not true in terms of what it actually says. It's more of like a, we think it's just a vibe.
Like a metaphor?
Yeah.
Or like
maybe
important stories. Right. Like, listen to this and learn from it.
Maybe instead of 2,000 people, there was
talking snakes aren't real. The Big Nick. Big Nick, I'm wondering if I know who you are.
Yeah, talking snakes. I would think that like,
I mean, I've never talked to a snake.
There's a lot of stories in like ancient Sumerian mythology and ancient Mesopotamian mythology that talk about snakes. And other than Egyptian, so Egyptian mythology actually likes snakes. So they're kind of like this person right here. You had like a pet snake.
I did.
So Egyptians liked snakes, but most of like the cultures back then didn't. And so a lot of their like mythologies and polemics were like those crafty serpents and snakes, and they were really
they're
just
shady.
Yeah, they were just to explain why snakes are bad. It wasn't like some ancient age-old deceiver.
Maybe it's both.
Maybe. Christians, interested in your thoughts?
How do we feel about snakes?
Is Satan...
Do they talk?
Is Satan a snake?
Is the snake from the story actually Satan?
Did Satan possess a snake? Thoughts on that? I mean, what if the snake was just an innocent bystander? What if serpents had legs? Satan jumped into a serpent with legs, did the whole trick Eve thing, get cursed by God, and now
the whole trick Eve thing.
So what if there's this whole like situation with snakes where they're like, yeah, man, original sin was when that devil guy jumped into one of our ancestors, and now we don't have legs. That sucks. Sorry, snakes. I don't know. Just seems a little made up. But I get it. What's interesting to me, and I think the question on most people's minds is, if it's made up, this is just some like, because if you think about it, we're all sitting around a campfire, probably the first time things were written down were like 700 BC, but we were probably all telling these stories around the campfire,
or something like.
right, 1000 BC. So 3,000 years ago, folks are sitting around a campfire, and variations of these stories are coming out. Now, they're not different from stories from like the other Canaanite tribes. They're not different from like the Babylonian stories or the Sumerian stories. They've got their variations right, and we're telling the story about our God though. Like, then Yahweh did this, then Yahweh did that. And we're like, yeah, go Yahweh, right? This is where we kind of get like our tribal, deity. The question is, how did it stick for 3,000 years? Is that why it's true? Is that why Yahweh is real? Because
Because the story didn't change.
because 3,000 years ago, people were sitting around a campfire telling a story about Yahweh, and all the other guys, nobody's like worshiping Baal anymore. Nobody's worshiping Marduk or Ea or Enlil or Ai. These are all actually, deities in that genre, but we're still worshiping Yahweh. Does that mean that Yahweh is real? Is that proof that Yahweh is real? That'd be my question. Interested in what the
Good
chat will
question.
say.
Good question, chat. Looks like Nick and Dusk are interacting a little bit. Dusk, I believe you know how to read.
The serpent in the garden wasn't innocent, he lied. So actually, interesting question about the serpent in the garden, because I would actually posit that the serpent in the garden actually told the truth. What did the serpent say?
He said, if you eat of the fruit of this tree, you will be like God and know right from wrong. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Essentially.
Did he lie?
So that's not a lie. That's actually more of a truth than God told.
God said that if you eat of the fruit, you're going to die. And it didn't say you're going to die like 100 years from now or 900 years in the term of like Adam and Eve.
Right.
But it said you're going to die. Like,
Like
essentially,
imminent.
it's implied imminently. Now we can argue that. I'm not going to like die on that hill. But the snake came around and said, hey, if you eat this fruit, you're going to know right from wrong. You're not going to die. And one could argue that he was lying in that eventually they died, but they didn't imminently die, and they did now know right from wrong. So, how did the serpent lie? The serpent said they wouldn't. Okay, Big Nick, I'm going to grant you that because that's a good point. So the serpent said you're not going to die. So here we're talking semantics, right? It's like God said that if you eat this fruit, you're going to die. The serpent said if you eat this fruit, you're going to know right from wrong, and you're not going to die. So it's a little bit of like you've got two like grown-ups talking, and the kids are down here and they don't really know what's happening. But it's like the grown-up conversations happening. They're trying to decide, do I go with dad? Do I go with mom? Who's telling the truth? Eve decides to freaking eat the fruit. But why did God put the serpent in the garden in the first place? Did God have the ability to not let the serpent go into the garden? Because if Adam and Eve didn't know the difference between right and wrong before they ate the fruit, it'd be like a daycare where you're a kid before accountable age. And if I put a lever in the middle of a daycare that had like tasty fruit at the end of it and said, hey, don't pull that lever, kids, or you're going to die. And then I just like walk out. And then there's like a daycare leader that I know is a little shady that I think might tempt them into pulling the lever. Who's that on, man? That's on me. I shouldn't have left those kids in the daycare with that shady supervisor that might deceive them into pulling the lever. I don't know. I think it's a cop out. I think we're giving God way too much like wiggle room here, as to like letting him off the hook, especially if he's like all powerful. I don't know. Thoughts? I'd be interested in thoughts on that.
Sorry, the dog was being a problem. Had to take her up.
That's cool. Totally fair. Okay, so Adam and Eve both died. Serpent said they wouldn't.
Mm. I think he said that they wouldn't die just because they ate the fruit. That doesn't mean
And
they
they
wouldn't
didn't
die
die
ever. He didn't promise
instantly.
them immortality.
I mean, but the bigger question, I'm interested, the big Nick, I'm interested in your thoughts on this. Okay, God gave us, oh, my favorite term. Okay, God gave us free will. We can use free will to reject him. He suggests we don't do that because the consequences are dire. So I don't know. If okay, let me ask you this question, Big Nick, because okay, humans have free will. Okay, I am a grown-up adult human. I am past the age of accountability. I know the difference between right and wrong. It specifically states in the text that Adam and Eve had not eaten the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, and they didn't know the difference between right and wrong. Was it fair for God to put a deceptive actor into the garden to tempt them, not knowing the difference between right and wrong, to do something that was right or wrong?
And how would they know?
So first of all, Big Nick, I do know the difference between right and wrong theoretically. I'd be interested in your thoughts of why maybe I don't. But you're saying I wouldn't reject God. I definitely reject God in the terms of Christianity. Maybe there's a different God out there that is better or more plausible. But the Christian God is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. Now, um,
I mean,
interesting.
he definitely let the snake in the garden. And if he's all knowing, which I believe most Christians
So
think God is, then he would have known.
So the big Nick, because the chats won't survive when we upload this later. So I'm going to read this out loud.
Smart.
The big Nick said, God didn't put a deceptive actor in the garden. He created a snake who decided to reject God. Which, by the way, the big Nick, I love your arguments here. Big W. I appreciate what you're saying here because these are great points. So you say he didn't put a deceptive actor in the garden. He created a snake who decided to reject God. So is the snake the devil or did the snake become the devil? Like, when did this devil thing, or maybe the snake isn't the devil? That's a good question.
Maybe it's just a bad character.
Maybe it's just, again, we're watching a cartoon
Also,
and
Nick, if you want to, you can come chat with us. You don't have to turn on your camera or
right.
anything.
You don't have to turn on your camera. This is just a chill zone. We just talk about it. Yeah, cool. Or if it's easier for
For
you.
sure. Either way.
Oh,
Oh, don't.
I'm gonna have taxing.
Something's. You look great, though.
Thanks.
I have the feeling you still hear us. We are going to a quick reset. Unsure why our tonight, but it might be because
I don't
there's
think
been
it's. I
crazy
think
storms
it's.
here. think we're back, friends. So sorry about that. Give us a thumbs up or a signal if you can hear us and see us again. We are in the Midwest and the storms have been real. Luckily, we were not in the path of a tornado the last day or two, but apparently it's still pretty sketchy out there. So it's messing with our connection. But here we are. Hi, Dusk. Hi, Big Nick. Thank you for confirming.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Big Nick had a comment that I liked. He said, I like the idea of a God who is surprised by our decisions and excited to see if we work it out.
Interesting. So how does that look if God is omniscient?
Yeah, why would
Big
he
Nick.
ever need to be surprised?
How does an
I can kind of see how
omniscience?
I would want that to be real, but I don't know that I can logic that into the like omni God definition.
So, okay. Big Nick, I'm going to bite. I'm going to bite on this one. So let's say I'm an all-powerful, all-knowing deity. And I have the ability to know everything. So technically, I'm going to give Big Nick a major bone on this one. Not trying to be inappropriate.
Well, then don't be.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. If a movie's coming out and I want to see the movie, but I don't want to know what's going to happen, I have the ability, if I want to go on Google or AI now and hear the whole plot. But because I want to be surprised, I choose not to. And I'm just like, you know what? Surprise me. I'm excited to see how the story plays out. I don't even want to know the plot. Are you saying that's what God's like? God's like holding back, like, hey,
Like
I'm excited to
I
see.
could watch the preview, but I'm not gonna
And
to
then,
see what you guys choose to do.
yeah,
That's an interesting thought.
God's like me,
Not wanting to
not
spoil
wanting to
the
spoil the
sequel.
movie.
Yeah. Hmm.
I don't know.
So like he could at any time.
Right. He could know. Like he could just go on Google or Godgle.
But how does he not already know because he designed it?
So
Like inherently.
Big Nick says, what's the purpose of creation if it's already set?
Oh, that's my biggest
That's
question.
the problem. So
That's
like
my
what's
biggest
up?
question.
So Big Nick, what's up with Christians saying that God knows everything, is all knowing, knows the beginning, middle, and end? Or like Jesus even says, only the Father knows the time that Jesus is coming back. Like, agreed. What's the freaking point if
Right.
you know?
Like why any of it?
So are you saying that God like could? It's not that God is omniscient, meaning he knows everything. He could be omniscient, like if he wanted to. Okay, but you're saying, but if you think God knows everything, well then he knows the end of the movie. He knows what we're gonna do. Like he know. So are you saying that God knew that I was going to create this live stream with Adele and we were both going to be on here and you were going to be talking with us? Or, to your point earlier, are you saying that he didn't quite know? Like, does he know maybe through your words, we're going to be like, you know what, that's a really good point. Actually, we're Christians again. Or maybe you're going to say, you know what, this is ridiculous. I'm not a Christian anymore. Where is the line through what he knows and what he doesn't know? Oh, dang. Big Nick's blowing my brain cells out. Okay, so Big Nick says, I think God knows everything that is true, but if it's not decided yet, how can it be true? It's only potentially true. What?
I think that we're trying to create a scenario that gives a loophole.
Actually, and can I interject with Dusk Frame's awesome comment that I totally
Dusk Frame's amazing.
do agree with 100%. So Dusk Frame says, I believe the Jewish understanding of God doesn't have the omni properties. I think that's much easier to stomach. So to Dusk Frame's point, and this is where this is where I struggle with modern Christianity, and I was a modern Christian, so I'm throwing a stone at myself here. Um, when I subscribed to reading the Bible through Christian programs like Bibles 365, and there was all sorts of trendy ones that I tried to do, but I was just like, nah, I'm old school. I'm just going to read the Old Testament and then read the New Testament. What I noticed is when you subscribed to the modern Christian like paths that it took you through the Bible, it'd be like, read this part of Genesis, now read this part of Paul, read this part of the Exodus, now read this part of Hebrews. And it would like, it's all the apologetics of the New Testament to the Old Testament and showing you through the Old Testament the filter of Jesus, which the rabbis would just freaking.
Sorry. Please read the newest comment.
The Old Testament is not Christianity.
Tell that to
Big Nick.
Jesus.
Actually, Big Nick, please stay on the line because Big Nick, I want to bake this out because you know who agreed with you?
Paul.
Marcion.
Oh yeah.
Marcion agreed with you. The Eusebians agreed with you. The Nicene preacher agreed with you. There was a ton of early Jesus
God
movements.
did not send Christ with the New Testament to get rid of the Old Testament.
The Old
That is
Testament.
literally not a thing in the Bible.
If the Old Testament, wait, what?
If the Old Testament is accurate, God would not have sent Christ with the New Testament. That is not. It did not cancel each other out.
So
Jesus did not come take away the old yucky stuff and
this is
make
why,
everything new. And
no, this is why Marcion only.
Yeah, that's why Marcion's popular.
It's why Marcion only believed in the Gospel of Luke. So, Big Nick, you need to, if you're not already, you may already be a Marcionite. Marcion,
which I can get behind.
Marcion did not believe in Matthew, Mark, or John. He only subscribed to the probably most original manuscripts of Luke, which is an actual argument for the fact that Luke didn't actually have a birth narrative initially. Marcion's a pretty good representation of that. But Marcion believed that the Old Testament had like a demiurge, like an evil god, Yahweh, which clearly he was like terrible.
I mean, Yahweh.
He was
anyway, you split it, whether monster. Or not.
Yeah. And it's like, there's no way this could be Jesus's dad. There's no way. It's like whiplash.
And they're like, somehow the same being.
No way. Yeah. In fact, the Big Nick, he
doesn't want to hear about Marcion. He's good. He just wants to tell us how the Old Testament's gone now because the New Testament exists now.
Well, that's what Marcion said. And Marcion actually had the very first biblical canon. So the very first Bible was 144 BC, and it was compiled by Marcion, who had Luke, the real letters of Paul, and it was basically saying that, you know, the Old Testament wasn't necessarily like God was a demiurge, a creature that created earth but was like kind of evil, and that, you know, Jesus's real father was like more of a, you know, benevolent being. Dusk Frame agree. Yeah, this Yahweh fella is kind of a jerk. Yeah, Yahweh is terrible. He's telling people to like genocide cities, kill the Amalekite babies. I mean, the Amalekites get thrown in here all the time. There's many others besides just the Amalekites. Pick your Canaanite city that got supposedly ruined, which, that's why Christ taught us that God is not a jealous tyrant, but a loving father. Big Nick, I'm telling you, Jesus's dad wasn't Yahweh. Jesus's dad was not the Old Testament God. Jesus's dad was some like spiritual being. So the Big Nick sounds like he more believes in like the Philo belief in like the like more like the Logos and like the spiritual father. I shouldn't have brought Philo into that because technically Philo believed in Yahweh. But yeah, it's a struggle. If you were part of the early Jesus movement and you were seeing like for the first time in Greek, you're reading the Septuagint, you're reading the Old Testament, you're like, wait, what? Jesus would never say any of this. This is terrible. Totally get it. Wow. Honestly. Big W, Big Nick, and Dusk Frame. Great comments. Any other thoughts on that?
Well, we have some other people coming in. If anyone that's joining wants to come chat with us, please feel free to use our link and come up and we can have a conversation too. Or you can jump in the chat and we can read those and follow along. Either way is fine with us. We'll be here at least for a little while longer. See if we have any.
I love the comment by the Big Nick. If the Old Testament was accurate, God wouldn't have sent Christ with the New Testament. So that's a really good point. So, like, if the Old Testament was good, because according to the Old Testament, there were certain characters in the Old Testament, like Hezekiah, who God said, Hezekiah is blameless. Essentially, without sin, not essentially, he specifically said, Hezekiah is without sin. Josiah, without sin, blameless. David, man after God's own heart. And even in the Old Testament, which the Big Nick is saying is like inaccurate, which I totally agree with. Uh, it says it's not too hard to follow these laws. Now there's like hundreds of them, but Yahweh in the Old Testament says it's not too hard to follow these laws, and I've made them plain. Clearly inaccurate, unreliable, and that's why if I'm following you correctly, Big Nick, and don't let me put words in your mouth.
Right. Please correct us.
Correct us if I'm wrong here. But that's why Jesus came, because he's like, okay, you guys, let me set the record straight. The Old Testament didn't mean that, not 100% accurate. This is what we really meant, if that makes sense. And other Christians, don't let us like hijack the chat here. If there's other Christians online that have points about this where you're saying, actually, no,
the Old Testament.
The Old Testament is real, feel free to let us know that too. I mean, we're in hell. We got nothing to say.
Wow. I mean, only kind of.
Only kind of. It's actually a temperate 71 degrees. Oh, okay. The Big Nick said, okay, God didn't write the Old Testament, men did. Men get things wrong. So
who wrote the New Testament?
That was going to be my question. So the Big Nick, here's my question. Who wrote the New Testament? Did God write the New Testament, or did men write the New Testament? Let's see. Christ reiterated all the big 10 commandments. They're still valid. I agree with you, Big Nick. Not only did Jesus re-emphasize the New Testament or the 10 commandments, Big Nick, he one-upped them, right? So he said, not only is it not covet your neighbor, but if you neighbor's wife, but if you look at a woman with lust, it's the same thing. And he said, not only is murder wrong, but if you look at your brother with hate, it's the same thing. So Jesus, to your point, not only did he say the Old Testament's lame in terms of the 10 Commandments, he said, I'm going to one up them. I'm going to say, not only should they have said this, they should have said this plus 10, right? Like Jesus was like, let me clarify the Old Testament. And Big Nick, Jesus also said that I did not come to abolish the law, because he loved the Mosaic law. He was pissed off at the Pharisees and their oral tradition, the making up random stuff. He was like, I didn't come to abolish, I came to fulfill. I'm saying all these Old Testament laws, yeah, they're real, but you didn't understand them correctly. I'm taking them to the next level. So agree, Big Nick. I agree with that. God doesn't have thumbs. I'm not sure. Wait, what?
that means?
I don't know. Sorry, that might be lost on me because I just don't sometimes understand things. The Gospels are assembled from thousands of manuscripts. I don't think we know who wrote most of them, though Luke probably wrote Luke, and Paul likely wrote the majority of the epistles. Ah, ceremonial laws. Yes, Big Nick. He can't write Bibles. A good one. Okay. Yes. Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
For the people watching, God didn't have thumbs. He didn't write Bibles. That's what Big Nick said. And actually, Big Nick has some really good points. So it is interesting having this conversation via chat, but I'm totally down for this. Also, Big Nick, I never want to take you out of context. So just say stop. Let me reiterate, and we'll reiterate, or join via the chat, because we're actually, as you can tell, like normal people, and we're not here to like be hateful,
be scary.
Yes, we're not scary. So when you say that the Gospels were assembled from thousands of manuscripts, I am going to call a little bit of question on that, because what really happened, and I actually have a really cool graph that I can find and pull up if we need to.
Please don't do the.
I know I pulled up a graph earlier and I lost a bunch of viewers. But it shows that like the thousands of manuscripts we have are the amount of manuscripts we have from like the Middle Ages of the Gospels. But as you would imagine, as you go back to like, the second century, they get less and less and less. And we really don't have any original manuscripts from even like the first century. Now, that being said, I agree with you 100%. When you say that Paul probably wrote the epistles, there are 7 epistles of Paul that scholars would agree are undeniably, in my opinion, like Paul wrote them.
Pauline.
Right, Pauline epistles. And if you think about it, when Paul was writing these letters, he wasn't sitting down to write something for people 2,000 years from now. He was like,
he thought we were all about to die.
yeah, he was like, y'all, don't get married, don't get a job, don't have kids. Jesus is coming now. He wasn't like literally if one of the gospel writers came to him and said, Paul, let's capture Jesus' story. I've got this idea. Here's what's going to be. It's going to be a birth, and then we're going to have a death, and then we're going to have the stuff in between. Paul would be like, dude, it doesn't freaking matter. In like 2 years, everything's going to be over. The way that Paul was like frantically writing to his like churches that he was frantically visiting, he thought this was going to be done in like the next 2 to 5 years tops. Like he wasn't wasting his time.
Don't get married, don't have children.
Right. So there's 7 letters of Paul, which I wish we had more like that are probably lost to history, obviously. Maybe we'll discover them someday. But it paints a really interesting picture of what Paul really thought. Yeah. And then of course what happened was, and this is where we get, so Galatians is a great place to start, because here you have Paul, in his franticness, like God's coming right now, or Jesus coming back right now. And then you have Thessalonians, where people are starting to die in the church of Thessalonica, and they're freaking out. They're like, dude, like people are dying. I thought you said Jesus was coming back. And literally, if you read First Thessalonians, you'll see where Paul's saying, hey, it's okay, guys. They're dying, but Jesus is going to come back, and those that died are going to get raised up with him in the clouds, and then the rest of us who are still with him, us, still with him, read the book, are getting caught up with them in the clouds. And then, of course, you get decades later where stuff still didn't happen, the temple gets destroyed, and then you have the Gospels. So you want to spend eternity in hell.
Probably because of our background.
So Winston Witten, I don't think that hell, personally, I don't think hell's real.
I'm not necessarily scared of it.
I would be interested to know why you think it's real. I would be really interested. Now, there's a link, and you can come to tell us why you think hell is real. We are normal people. I'm a freaking Midwesterner in the United States. So is Adele. We're both just nice people. Come on up and talk. We're not here to like, we're not here to be antagonistic. Yeah, Revelation. Winston Witten, for future watchers, brought up Revelation. Terrifying book, right?
Very terrifying.
The God of the Bible is a vengeful, masochistic psycho. He wants to light people on fire, keep them alive to continually light them on fire because they were unconvinced that this mythological Jesus was a real person. And because of that, he wants to perpetually set them on fire for all eternity. That's
no big deal.
Pretty psycho. Pretty terrifying. I mean, I would rather believe in the Joker, honestly. I feel like I could actually Joker or God. Yahweh, I should say. No shade to Allah, although Allah actually says pretty much the same thing. I'm just starting to learn, so I can't say enough. Maybe Vishnu's not as evil. I don't know, but Yahweh, he's a psycho. I don't know. Throwing that out there. Sorry.
We've got some new people coming in asking questions. Please feel free to call up and have a chat with us as well. We would love to have a conversation.
Okay, Big Nick. I believe that Big Nick is like and so I'm getting Methodist vibes, and I'm not. This is no shade. I love Methodists. They're like one of my favorites. But the reason, Big Nick, I'm getting these vibes from you is because you're kind of like hell is a place without God. Heaven is a place by love. There's no eternal fire. So what we have here in the chat is we've got a Winston Witten who's like Revelation,
Essentially,
Deuteronomy.
damnation.
Right. And then we've got Big Nick. Sorry, Winston Witten, but Big Nick doesn't believe in the Old Testament. He thinks it's just not real. So we've got Big Nick believing the Old Testament's not real. We got Winston Witten saying, "Yeah, dude, you're gonna burn in hell and get lit eternally on fire." So I struggle with this. Christians, why do you still believe? What do you even believe? You all can't even agree.
Well, and Winston just asked, where do we go when we die? The exact same place we were before we got here. We didn't exist, then we do for a while. We get to try to do the best that we can in this place while we're alive, and then when we die, we're gone. Like, I don't think I'm going to go burn in hell for all eternity. And I don't think I'm going to go to some city of gold.
I'm going to be in the exact same place I was 100 years ago.
Yes, exactly nowhere.
And I'm going to be exactly as sad and exactly as happy as I was 100 years ago. Now, I get it. Nobody wants to believe that because we all want to live forever. Everyone wants to live forever. Now, is wanting something and is something being true the same thing? I wish that I have $1 million in my bank account right now. Does that mean that it's true? I want to believe. You know what? I'm going to live my life tomorrow, and my spouse is going to be so happy. I'm going to live my life tomorrow like I have $1 million in my bank account.
Oh, I was just going to say he keeps threatening to like die before me. So if you think you're going to live forever, that would be a lot.
I'm going to buy the fanciest car tomorrow on my credit card. I'm going to, because I believe, because it makes me feel good, that I have $1 million in my bank account. Therefore, it must be true.
I don't want to live in a world where it isn't true.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a few more chats here.
How did the world get here? It couldn't have come from nothing.
Oh, ex nihilo. Nihilio. Oh, that's a whole that person needs to chat in. Who said that? It can. Winston.
It's all Winston.
Oh, Winston,
yeah.
come
we
on,
really
buddy.
Want Winston up here.
Winston, you feel like you. I sense the Holy Spirit in you. Gird your loins. Click the chat button. Come on up. I would love to talk about where we came from, because I agree, I don't think we came from nothing, but I'm going to reserve that mystery for you, that esoteric wisdom. I'm going to hold that esoteric wisdom. Let's see here. Cortez, Nebraska. Is that Cortez, Nebraska?
I don't know, Alfred Cortez.
Or New England? I'm from Nebraska, so
I highly doubt Nebraska. He seems cooler than Nebraska.
Yeah. Dang. Life is everlasting. This is why hell is horrifying, because it's forever. Yes. Okay. The Big Nick. I have a question for you. If I live, and to be fair, I live hard. Okay. So let's say I peace out at 70. Okay, I'm giving myself some wiggle room here. Let's say I die at 70. Okay, so for the first 35 years of my life, I was a die-hard Christian. I believed wholeheartedly. I had discussions with Jesus. I now know that were in my mind, but I talked with Jesus. I had the Spirit in my heart. I led worship band. I taught Sunday school. I had multiple Bible studies, which is why, for any followers of the channel, they might recognize that I know the Bible a little bit. I did all of this, but at age 35, I decided, you know what?
I thought it was 33.
Well, it was 33. I'm rounding.
Oh
Anyways,
well, 33 is
35 is
just
33 is when I first started realizing that it was a bunch of ridiculousness, and then 35 is when I kind of really peeled away. Let's say that I live now the other half of my life, so from 35 to 70, so half my life I'm a Christian, half my life I'm not, and I die. Is 70 years or 35 years of not being convinced that Jesus was real is a like just punishment me being eternally tormented? Think of the word eternal. How many
forever.
how many times 70 is that? A million? Okay, so let's take a million lifetimes. I'm going to be punished a million times my lifetime because I was unconvinced that Jesus was the Savior. Now, I recently learned that there's also a Messiah in Islam, the Mahdi. And I apologize if I mispronounced that for any Islam viewers. But the Mahdi is supposed to come before or during the time of Jesus. What if I believe that, you know what? Ishmael, the eighth, uh, oh, dang it. I'm not going to mispronounce these things. So I'm just not going to say them. But Ishmael was supposed to be a prophet that died, and then his brother became the new prophet. But a lot of Islamic followers believed that he was infallibly going to be the next prophet. And so then they said, well, he's the Mahdi. He's the person that's going to come back at the
You're
end to
getting
judge.
chats about the Mahdi.
Oh, sweet. Okay, cool.
Katna says that's from Messiah.
Oh, okay,
And
okay,
Winston
okay.
really wants to know where the world came from.
Katna, correct me in the chat. Pop in the chat. We are going to take your information. I'm just now learning about this. But my point is, like, who am I to say, like, I don't any longer believe in Jesus? I believe in the Islamic Messiah or person coming back. And now, whoops, I screwed up. It was actually Jesus. So now I whoopsed it, and now I'm going to be punished a million times 70. And a million is not real, right? It's a trillion. It's a quintillion because eternity is everlasting. I'm going to be permanently lit on fire because I got it wrong. What kind of like, can you see how this is late Bronze Age? Can you see how this is like first century? I just, modern rationalism doesn't make sense of this. It just blows my mind, actually. Interesting. Katna is a crime, by the way. Oh, interesting. Katna is a crime. Please subscribe to our channel because I feel like you might have some truths that I'm not familiar with in terms of Islam. I would like to get more followers on the channel of Islam, Hindu, other religions because we in our society are very boxed into a very finite like vision of religion. In fact, I have very close friends, and the only reason they believe in Christianity is because it's just popular of the group. They don't know anything about other religions. Look at me. I've studied Christianity my entire life. I know the Bible front and back. How much do I know about Vishnu? Nothing. What is that? Yeah, we've heard about it. We've heard enough to know that it's fake. But what does that mean? That's ridiculous. That's just narrow minded stupidity. I'm going to step back.
You're going off. Hey, we've got a whole lot of new people popping in. Nick still says we should follow Christ. Listen, Big Nick, we appreciate you being here. And I feel like you have a lot to offer. I'm not mad at you. Not necessarily going to convince me to just follow Christ by saying so. But anyone who's just joining, please feel free to pop up and chat with us. We're here to have conversation. And oh, read Katniss chat.
Oh, that's cool. And correct me if I'm mispronouncing this, but it says, by the way, Katna just means circumcision in Islam, and it says Katna is a crime.
So no circumcision.
So far, the Christians and So this is a Christian calling platform. So no shade to any other religions that are watching currently, but so far the Christian viewers have been
King Wesley, follow Doug.
unable to
May the
have
mighty
the
rock be
bravery to show
found.
up. So let's see here. Okay, hold on. Your choice left like sorry, we're reading a few
Hello,
chats here.
Adcello. Hello, King Wesley. Dusk, are you still here? Give me a little chat if you're still here.
So, King Wesley, I'm going to give you a shout out to, and I know Adele just did. It said, "Follow Doug, the true God. May the mighty rock be beneath your feet." So, one of the reasons why we are live is because a while back I stumbled upon an individual who had a channel called the Deconstruction Zone, and the host of the channel is Justin, and I didn't know what deconstruction meant. It really struck a chord with me because I didn't know that I went through that. Like I essentially left the Christian faith, and it was
Didn't have
very
like a term for it or a community for it.
no. I just thought I was a person on my own doing this thing, and I had to keep it secret because I'm in a country where the majority of people are Christian, so I had to keep it kind of to myself. And by the way, anybody who has had to deconstruct in a country that considers you an apostate for leaving your
Terrifying.
religion that results in violence, uh, no comparison. This is no comparison.
I mean, it's not easy, but that doesn't mean that it's that hard.
Yeah. Anyways, but it was also it was challenging to leave family, friends, etc., and do this sort of thing. But Justin was debating against Christians and
Still is.
still
By the way,
is.
if anybody watching us is not following the deconstruction zone, you
Follow the
should be
deconstruction zone.
following the
Yeah.
deconstruction zone.
But Justin created a deity called Doug, who's the rock of salvation, and he's a physical rock. And he
Which we
can
can see.
physically see this thing, and it has a lot more merit than the mythological Yahweh deity of.
I called out Dusk, and Dusk said they're still here. Dusk, for some reason, I just thought that you might appreciate my little friend. I have a little teeny little spiky friend here.
Hedgehog.
It's a hedgehog. She's here to help defend atheism. She does not believe in a god. She only believes in worms.
We've got a chat. It says the more I can see Jesus Christ in it, and the Second or New Testament is undisputedly about Jesus. Oof. I will say, so be it 33-3. Jesus didn't fulfill a single Old Testament prophecy, and all the prophecies that are referenced in the New Testament were not fulfilled by Jesus. So if you want to call in, I would love to have this conversation and just discuss those prophecies. If you have one, you can Google it first, like Google it, find a really good prophecy, and come on up. But Jesus didn't fulfill any Old Testament prophecy. That's the biggest problem. In fact, there were other messianic figures like Simon Bar Kokhba that actually did fulfill some messianic prophecies. Jesus just didn't. It was a stretch on the
Hi,
part of the
Elise.
followers.
Welcome.
Hey, Elise, that's awesome. Love it, love it. Okay, cool. Let's see who else do we have here. Okay. Slug Racer asking a question to Big Nick, which the Big Nick, honestly, Big Nick, if you're still on, you're
Gotta come up
you're
here.
driving this because you've got some really good points. But Slug Racer had a question for you. If God knows all the choices you make result in hell, can you change that? If so, what does that say about God's eternal knowledge? That's a really good question, and that brings into question Calvinism. So for any of those like Christians who know about like the fact that like Calvinism has a very biblical like root in the fact that God knows who's going to be saved and not based on the fact that he's omniscient. And in fact, God causes some people to believe in him and causes some people not to. So perhaps we are just folks that God chose
Not
to say, you're not
to
going to believe.
reveal himself to?
Perhaps. What are your thoughts on that?
So we're just doomed.
We're just doomed. We're doomed. And why would a loving God doom certain people? Like, are we going to be lit on fire for eternity?
Forever.
And are our parents in heaven? Because, like, your parents, for the most part, and my parents are going to be in heaven. Are they going to be like, well, heaven's the happiest place on earth? Bummer about those guys, though. Are they just going to be like, no tears in heaven, and just forget about us? Is their memory going to be wiped of us? Because I have children. Am I going to think that, like, if one of my children is getting lit on fire for infinity,
for eternity,
that I'm just going to be like, comme ci, comme ça, lit on fire, smells like bacon.
Winston really, 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 really wants to know where the whole world came from.
How
did it come from nothing?
Come on up, Winston. I will tell you
I would love to talk about the fact that I never thought that there was
secret. Nothing. I will tell you the secret of the universe. If you come up, I will tell you. And you don't even have to, like, watch a Neil deGrasse Tyson video to understand.
The hedgehog will bring us the collar.
It doesn't matter, honestly. The chat's great. Honestly, I almost prefer the chat because, I mean, I hate to say this, guys, it gives us the power. The chat gives us the power. We get to pick who we choose to talk to, and then we get to, like, it's a one-sided thing. But the reason why the chat's still engaging is because we're being fair and representing you. And if we ever aren't, drop off. But I feel like people are. Let's see here. Does God have all omniscience? Interesting.
Covered of cheese. Why doesn't the Bible say not to own slaves? Great question. One of my top questions. Wish I knew.
Dang it. I'm like fascinated by this.
Yeah,
Katna is a crime. You're dropping chats that, like, have me interested in you, and I really hope that you
call up someday, even if it's not today.
Yeah, or at least subscribe so we can hear more of your chats. Jesus Christ is my savior. This is from Melvin Coakley. Jesus Christ is my savior. My heart cries for you. You have you have knowledge granted, but your, I assume, ignorance is condemning you. God dooms not. Your redemption dooms you. I don't know, Melvin. What if I believe in Islam? What if I believe in Hinduism? What would they say to you? I think they would say your ignorance blames you. Because, did you just drop the hedgehog?
You did.
Okay, guys.
Didn't drop her, she jumped.
To be fair, there is no animal cruelty on this show. That hedgehog was completely artificial intelligence. It was CGI. Also, hedgehogs have, if you've seen the egg drop science experiment where you put a bunch of toothpicks around an egg and the egg survives, hedgehogs have a bunch of spiky toothpicks and the hedgehog is fine. Can you verify the hedgehog is?
The hedgehog is fine.
Resurrected.
AI
Didn't even take 3 days. Back to life.
Didn't even take 30 seconds.
It's cool.
Cool. She just decided she wanted to be brave.
Oh boy.
Okay. AI hedgehog Elise, yes. Never grew up in a religious household. Potatoes, little potatoes.
We have some really good followers right now.
Yeah, we do.
AI hedgehog. We've got some AI hedgehog. That's good, Elise. Let's see here. Let's see here. Never grew up in a religious. Okay, so love potato, little potato. I never grew up in a religious household. From a he was just easy to say magic is not real. I can demonstrate it. So I come to the conclusion a magical entity at all. Yeah, I mean. Oh, we have a caller in the box.
Who is it?
Well, okay, we're gonna have to ask because
It's tiny.
It's a long ways away. All right, so we're gonna bring up the caller here, and
They're probably gonna yell at me about a hedgehog.
3, 2, 1.
Let's see who our friend is.
All
Oh,
right. Quick question: can you hear us? And are you over the age of 18?
Are you talking to me?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep. We
friend.
got you.
Oh,
Welcome.
okay. Yeah, what was your question?
Are you over the age of 18? And what should we call you? What name do you go by?
Oh, call me Clay.
Clay.
Nice
Okay.
to
Cool.
meet
Cool.
you,
Cool.
friend. Thank you for
Yeah.
calling.
Nice to
Because
meet you.
I'm a total believer in Jesus Christ. I'm a
Okay.
believer in
Okay.
the story from Genesis all the way through Revelations. I have not read it all, but I've read quite a bit, and I believe I've been led there by the Holy Spirit. I'm a smoker of 40 years. I'm 53 years old now. I started smoking when I was about, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 years old. And I've tried to quit smoking many times throughout my life. And the first time I prayed about it was in December of last year. And the Holy Spirit told me, I will help you quit smoking. And I promise you, anybody who uses this system will quit smoking. Just quit smoking cigarettes and change over to cigars and do not inhale. You'll listen to me. It's not funny. You inhale for just a little bit. You just quit inhaling. Just kind of swish it in your mouth like this. I smoke Swisher Sweets, and that kind of gave me the idea. And then, but 12 days after I quit, which was my birthday, I quit the day before my birthday. And I really didn't want any cigarettes anymore because the nicotine had been reduced so much in my body. And I honestly don't believe I could have come up with that idea without the Holy Spirit's guidance.
Well, first of all,
So
big
that's
W.
part of my
Yeah.
testimony.
No, that's awesome.
So I quit smoking totally. And I used to not sound like a smoker, but I'm starting to sound like a smoker the less I smoke. But well, I don't smoke. I haven't smoked since December of last year.
I personally like
So
I like your voice. I think it sounds good.
well, thank
You
you.
sound like Hollywood.
Yeah, you sound like Hollywood. That's good. Yeah.
Well, I don't know who Hollywood is.
Well, surely you know what Hollywood is.
So
Oh yeah,
how do you feel like so are there other things that like so first of all huge, right? Not to belittle that,
right.
right? I mean, dude, uh so
Well,
I
rather you believe in Jesus Christ or not, one of the main things that vegetarians love, the fact that he put an end to animal sacrifices. He is the end of the call for the animal sacrifice. Now, there's a lot of people out there that say they're Jews and they can't sacrifice right now, but some of them still do. But Jesus Christ has saved more animals on the planet than any other human being ever to live. For one, if you're an animal lover, you ought to love that about Jesus. 2,000 years of saving animals' lives. He should be a bumper sticker. I've never seen it.
it should be, right? Cuz yeah. That should be a vegan thing.
Well, it should be, and it probably will be now. Somebody's going to print it up right now. Watch.
Yeah, exactly.
But another thing, do you two have a Bible handy with you while you're doing this program?
Absolutely. I can even pull it up on the
I
screen
mean, we
if you'd
can't pull
like.
it up on screen, but we have at least 2 Bibles right
Okay,
here.
one of my very favorite verses. Well, of course, everybody knows John 3:16, right? God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
whoever
love that
believes on
verse.
Jesus
Yeah.
shall not die but have everlasting life. I mean, who is not attracted to that? So
Agreed.
anyhow, go over to Romans 3:16, and that verse right there should be a bumper sticker for every Jewish man, woman, and every Jewish man and woman that owns a car.
All right, hold on.
Because
let me pull it up here.
if the Jews cannot testify through historical evidence that that verse is absolutely true, then they can't testify that anything's true.
All right, hold on. I'm going to pull this up here real quick. So this
Now, the
is
Catholics ain't going to like this, but it's true.
oh,
Or the
dang.
Jews.
Hey, we're not
What's
here to
it say?
we're not here to make friends. We're here to spread the truth, y'all. All right, Romans 3:16. Oh wait, Romans 3:16? Did I get that right?
Yes. Yes.
It just says ruin and misery are in their paths.
Now, what Jew would say that that verse is a lie?
That's
What Gentile
Wait,
would
what's
say
the
that that verse is a lie?
Romans? Can I say Romans 3 and see the context? 'Cause I'm not actually sure of the context here. Okay, so the context of Romans 3:16, it says, okay, what then, are we better off? No, not at all, for we have already charged that all, both Jews and Greeks, are under the power of sin. As it is written, there is no one who is righteous, no, not one. Classic, that's a classic verse. There is none who is understanding, there is none who seeks God. All have turned aside, together they have become worthless. There is no one who shows kindness, there is not even one. I see where you're going with this. Let me get to 16 and I see where you're going with this. Their throats are open graves. They use their tongues to deceive. The venom of vipers is under their lips. Their mouths are full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Ruin and misery are in their paths. And the way of peace they have not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. So are you positing, and I'm just asking because I don't want to put words in your mouth. Are you positing that the Jewish people, ruin and misery are in their paths because
No, I'm positing that the Jewish people, their experience from the Romans, what do you call it? I keep wanting to say occupation. That's what I should say.
No, it's true.
The
Yeah,
Roman
the Roman occupation. Yeah.
The Roman occupation was predicated on that one verse alone. I'm not calling the Jews and saying that they're, I know they're in a war right now. I see that's the smallest country out there in the whole world almost is against them. I'm not against them.
And we're not taking
them guys are in total.
I'm with you.
They're in total defensive mode, and they're using every man and woman that they got. They have women on their front lines. My God, the whole world should be supporting them. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree to the point where there's also like Lebanon, but to step out of that, like let's go back into when this was written. So back to when this book was written, because the Iranian War currently has nothing to do with obviously like when this was written, although it may have ramifications today. Although I don't know, today it seems a little bit more political than this, but to your point, you're saying that like like I don't want to put words in your mouth. What are your thoughts on this? Like, what do you mean by like what you're saying in this particular section?
Well, what is read Romans 3:16 by itself?
Ruin and misery are in their paths.
And it's in Romans. It's talking about the Romans. I know it's a letter from Paul addressed to the Romans, but anyhow, all right, go now. All right, enough of that 3:16. A lot of the Jews will understand where I'm coming from with that. That's against the Romans who were occupying the Jews at the time it was written. And they, if they had cars back then, they would, or and bumper stickers and stuff, which I doubt they did. That probably would have been a bumper sticker. That's what I was positing because they were so mean to the Jews. The Romans were as mean as the rest of the world are trying to be. I don't know. It's just, and that's got to be proof for anybody looking from without looking in that that's God's people, because everybody's not everybody, but anyhow. So anyhow, if you look at Genesis, this amazing fact about Genesis 3:16. God gives the very first punishment. No, not all of them, just a bunch of them. But
Okay.
Genesis 3:16 is where God gives the very first punishment. And who got it? Not men, because women are the ones that partook of the apple first, or whatever it was on the tree from the snake, which I think it's alluding to some other acts than just a tree and a piece of fruit. But
Hold on, zoom
anyhow,
in a little bit so people can read. So this is
Genesis
where
3:16
said, "I will make
gives
your
the very
pangs."
first punishment.
Yeah, I will make your pangs in childbirth exceedingly great. In pain you shall bring forth children. Yet your desire will be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. So, what are your thoughts on Genesis 3:16 and how God
Well,
designed the world?
Well, my thought is he probably increased her pain, and her childbearing would have probably been a lot easier had she not done what she did. But if you go, that's the very first
We're talking about
punishment.
the fruit,
Now,
like
the,
the fruit in the
for
garden.
the sin, for the sin, the fruit is a metaphor. The tree is a metaphor. The garden is a metaphor.
Okay, but that's the situation.
Wait,
right?
wait. Hold up. So, how do we know is the pain a metaphor?
The snake's a metaphor.
Is the pain a metaphor?
No, the pain is absolutely real.
How do we know what's real and what's a metaphor?
Well, the fix, that's something you need to pray for and ask the Holy Spirit of truth, because if you're truly truth seekers, the whole book will lead you directly to Jesus Christ, because he is in fact the Messiah, our Christ, the Lord, that came to save the human race.
What if I come up with a different thing? So for example,
well, see, in the 60s they used to sell pet rocks based on the same thing you were talking about earlier.
Duh.
And pet rocks may come back. You can actually do a YouTube search on that, and there's videos where pet rocks was one of the most common commercials when I was a little kid in the early 70s.
So here's my question though. How do you know the difference between what's a metaphor and what's real? So if for example,
all right, now
you're saying,
do this. The very first cure to that, the disobedience that plagued Eve in Genesis 3:16 is found if you'd go over to Matthew 3:16 and read that. I'm taking you on a little trip here. We'll get to the
I'm
metaphor.
excited about this. I like this 3:16 journey. Okay, Matthew. This is like gematria. I feel like I'm in a gematria video here.
Well, I hope there's a lot of disbelievers listening.
Yeah, there are. You've got a
Yeah,
group
there
here.
are.
Matthew 3:16. Okay, and when Jesus had been baptized, just as he came up from the water, suddenly the heavens were opened to him, and he saw God's Spirit descending like a dove and alighting on him. Okay, so what is your thoughts on this?
Well, that baptism right there, Jesus showed us. Jesus was the very first man to ever walk the earth who committed no sins. It's what the whole book's about.
Hezekiah, God said that Hezekiah committed no sins. Did God lie in the Old Testament?
I never seen that verse.
Oh, I
would like
can pull
you
it
to
up. Let me
show
pull
me
it
that.
up.
No, I got a King James version here.
Do you want the what version are you reading?
Did Clay just leave?
Oh, what? He left? No, come back. Come back. Who was this person? What was his name again?
I mean, his name was Clay. I don't know what
Clay,
his name was.
Come back. Join us.
Everyone in the chat thinks they're a troll.
I don't know, man. Dang. Okay, hold on, guys. Okay, it's 2 Kings 20.
Let's just read it anyway.
Yeah,
Hezekiah.
Dang it! There were so many things. I wanted to go with this.
You were so serious that I just couldn't.
You thought that I was getting played? Did you think I was getting played?
Well, we just weren't really sure about that caller.
Do you think that he was messing with me, man?
Yeah.
Dang. Remember, now, O Lord, I implore you, how I have walked before you in faithfulness, the whole heart, and done what is good in your sight. Hezekiah wept bitterly. Oh, we've got to go. We got to pull it out of whole context here. Hezekiah, I'm telling you, Hezekiah was deemed blameless in the sight of the Lord. Yeah. Thus says the Lord, the God of your ancestor David, I have heard your prayer. I have seen your tears. Indeed, I will heal you. On the third day you shall go up.
He's not going to respond. He left. Wait, is he back in the box?
He's back in the box. Okay, Clay, hold on. But the third day, Clay.
On the third
Clay,
day.
we lost you. Okay.
Okay, I'm back.
In the third day you will go up to the Lord. I will add 15 years to your life. I will deliver you. I'll defend this city. Bring a lump of figs.
Where are we at?
I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, there's multiple people in the Old Testament that God says are blameless. And even God says that his commandments are not too hard to keep. But that's
Right.
okay. We can digress from that. We don't need to like belabor that. I'll go with your narrative on this like this thing. What was your next point though? I want to track with you. I feel like you've got to track.
Okay, but where's
Matthew 3:16
Hezekiah? Yeah, Matthew 3:16. But where's Hezekiah's sin? Where did he sin?
Didn't sin.
Why was he
That's the
crying?
thing. Hezekiah was blameless. Hezekiah didn't sin. And you know who also didn't sin and who also was blameless? Josiah. In fact, I believe that Josiah is the reason why we have the Old Testament by and large, and why we discovered Deuteronomy in the temple when we were doing the renovations. But that's why all of the accounts of Josiah is that he's the most amazing person, better than David, like the most amazing. He was the Messiah. In fact, like Josiah was called the Messiah. Do you know about that part?
No, I don't. I do not.
Okay. Okay, hold on.
I do not.
I'm gonna pull up the verse here. I gotta type it in here. It's 2 Kings 23:25. In fact, you know what? This is the part to me. This is the part, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm a fanboy.
I can't hear you.
Change it to 23:25.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay. It's in 2 Kings
Right.
23.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. 23:25. I'm scrolling down to 25. Look at this. Look at this prophecy. Okay. First of all, Clay. First of all, I think you're awesome and thank you for calling in. Second of all, what is your favorite prophecy of Jesus? Before we go into this, just off the cuff, and it can be anything. What's your favorite like Jesus prophecy where it's like in the Old Testament it said this is why I think Jesus is the Messiah?
My favorite prophecy is chapter 22, verses 3, 4, and 5 in Revelations.
Well, that's a second coming prophecy. I'm talking about like how we knew that Jesus, the baby Jesus or the adult Jesus, was the Messiah when he like walked on earth. Like, what's your favorite like Jesus walking on earth or baby Jesus? Like, this is how we knew before the second coming. And if you don't have an answer, you can just say pass. That's actually okay too. Because I actually don't believe any of them. But
I like when he was wearing his tassels, and as many as people touched his tassels while he was walking through the crowd, they were healed.
But those weren't technically prophecies. Like, it never said in the Old Testament that a guy's going to walk through a crowd and get his tassels touched. Which
you're saying prophecy? No,
mischievous.
that one. Well, I don't know. I know one thing. Moses prescribed the cure for what was that main disease?
With the snake, putting the snake up on the stick?
No, that's when they got bit by the snakes. That was a precursor to Jesus.
I can tell you know your stuff, Clay. I appreciate that. You know your Old Testament. I appreciate that.
I know quite a bit of it, but I haven't read the whole book yet. But uh,
Well, let's go to
no,
Kings.
no,
Okay, if you think of
the
one, let
disease
me know.
that turns people, the
Leprosy?
disease that they had, leprosy. I couldn't think of the name leprosy.
Yeah, yeah, where
The,
your skin
that
starts to kind of rot
Moses.
off. Oh,
So Moses prescribed the way to for the priest to declare someone cured of leprosy, and I believe this is true. And man, I haven't found where any priest declared anyone at all ever free from leprosy until the time of Jesus Christ.
I'm going to give you a big win on that one, Clay. So here's something that I think is very interesting about Jesus and why I think that he was such a troublemaker. And it's going to be something that you can
Yeah.
use in your future arguments because it's going to be in your camp. So the problem was leprosy was a big problem back then. It was a skin disease that like they would put people outside of the camp and they would have this skin disease, and the only way to cure the skin disease was to perform this extensive ritual that was very expensive.
Very big.
You're breaking up.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I'm breaking up. Oh, hopefully you can still hear me. It had to do with
Chat,
like
can you hear us?
it had to do with like multiple types of creatures that you had to sacrifice and flour, oils, and you had to go to the priest. And in reality, the priest didn't want to deal with these people that were going to get them sick. And what happened was Jesus was performing healings to these people through remedial healings outside of the priesthood that was helping them get better and not charging them anything. So it was causing a major disruption to the priesthood. But let's go to Kings 23
I have a
25
friendly
23.
asking if they can join the chat. I think the problem is if we bring up another person, we sometimes have audio issues.
Right. Have them come up and we'll bring them up next.
Well, they just wanted to join as an atheist, I think, to be like part of the conversation.
Oh yeah, we can bring them up next though. Let's see here. Oh shoot. Hold on here, guys.
So at
Let's
first
see
or second
here.
king?
I think it's Second Kings. Yeah, it's basically like the fact that like Josiah was like the Messiah, but wait, hold on. Oh, there's a verse though. Adele, I might have to have you take a conversation for a second while I find this because it's a very distinct verse where it
Can you
basically
check your Copilot?
yeah, I will actually, but it's not in there, but yeah.
Oh.
Josiah prophecy. Anyways, go ahead and ask some Socratic questions.
I was just reading the chat. John 1:18. No man has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son who is in the bosom of the Father. Dusk Frame says, I can't believe the Bible has a book of kings but not a book of queens. I agree. And the book of queens would be fabulous, in my opinion.
All right, I think I found it. It's 1 Kings 13:2. So here's my, if this is the right verse, I apologize. Okay. Okay. So, Clay, when you think of the Old Testament prophecies, when you think of Isaiah 7:14, when it says, you're going to name him Emmanuel, and a young maiden will conceive and bear a child. And when you think of Isaiah 53 regarding the nation of Israel, where it says the suffering servant and these sort of things, and when you think of all these like Old Testament prophecies, there are clear messianic prophecies in the Old Testament that are actually clear. They're not vague. And one of them is 1 Kings 13:2, okay, regarding the Messiah. So this prophecy says this. In fact, I'm just going to say 1 Kings 13 because I don't want to take anything out of context. Start at the beginning. It says, a man of God came out of Judah by the word of the Lord to Bethel. While Jeroboam was standing by the altar to offer incense, and he cried out against the altar by the word of the Lord and said, O altar, altar, thus says the Lord, a son shall be born to the house of David, Josiah by name, and he shall sacrifice on you the priests of the high places who offer incense on you, and human bones shall be burned on you. He gave a sign the same day, saying, this is the sign that the Lord has spoken. The altar shall be torn down, and the ashes that are on it shall be poured out. When the king heard what the man of God cried out against the altar at Bethel, Jeroboam stretched out his hand from the altar, saying, seize him. But the hand that stretched out against him withered, so that he could not draw back to himself. So in the Old Testament, it has prophecies about the Messiah. And in this particular prophecy about the Messiah, it even names him, saying it's Josiah. And then Josiah, lo and behold, 300 years later, after this verse is discovered, more to come on that, shows up. I'm just interested, like, why are all these vague prophecies of Jesus in the Old Testament, like, relevant when there are clear, like, obvious prophecies? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. I just believe. I don't know. I don't know. I've never read First and Second Kings at all. I've read quite a bit out of the first 5 books in the Bible and some of the prophets, mainly the latter prophets in the book, like Zephaniah and Malachi and Zechariah. I've read them 3 books, and I just kind of read where the Holy Spirit leads me, and my very first study, honestly, was because I liked the 3:16 in John so much. I decided to study all the 3:16s, and I went through them all and wrote them all down. And I was headed to, from Matthew 3:16, I was headed to Revelations 3:16, which you might already know, says that since you are not hot or cold, but you are lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. So that indicates that we got to be either hot in the word or totally cold in the word. But we can't be just lukewarm on the fence, you know? And I think that's where most people are today. They're kind of lukewarm on
So
the
my
fence.
question, and actually, by the way, that Revelation 3:16, and also Clay, I didn't realize that the 3:16 verses were all like had that many powerful levels, because all of the verses that you pointed out were very good verses. In fact, verses that stuck with me and were impactful. The lukewarm thing, man, that was
Right.
impactful, because when I was a Christian and I was like, I thought that I was like really giving my all. When you're giving your
Yeah.
all, you always have to stop and think, am I really giving my all?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Good point.
what is my all? I still have a
Right. Right.
job. Have I quit my job? I still have this person that I'm friends with who's maybe not on fire for Jesus. Am I helping them, or are they holding me back? Like, that lukewarm verse is powerful. I mean, these are powerful
Right. Right.
concepts, and those 3:16 verses, I didn't realize they were all 3:16 verses. That's a powerful thing. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Right. Well, with you saying that, that brings us to Luke 3:16, which reads, John answered, saying unto them all, indeed, I baptize you with water. This is John, but one mightier than I, this is John the Baptist. I cometh, uh, the latches whose shoes I am not worthy to unloose. He shall baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people out there baptizing. Jesus apparently did not physically, personally baptize anyone, but the Spirit of Jesus is the ones who baptize with the Holy Spirit and fire. In other words,
Why
if
do
you
you
get baptized by someone who's just baptized and they don't really believe, it's not really gonna land.
why do you think
But
that why do you think that Jesus didn't write his own book?
well, for one, his ministry was only 3.5 years, and
True.
all of his teachings, there were Pharisees and Sadducees and scribes there. He taught a lot at the temple in Jerusalem. He taught at many of the synagogues around Jerusalem and around the towns. They had that all listed out. How would they have it not have it listed out if there wasn't Pharisees and scribes? They were, you know, he had a bunch of people on his team,
Do you think that like
but he,
if God was going to send his son, like so we've got some prep time, right? Because we've got like the beginning of time, and then there's humanity, and then there's all humanity, and then he's going to drop his son in. And do you believe, so to set the baseline, I have a couple questions. First of all, do you believe that the Bible is 100% true? That's the first question. Do you believe the Bible is 100% true in the way that it was originally written? And the second question is, do you believe that God knows everything?
yeah. Well, I'll answer your second question first. I absolutely
Okay,
believe
fair.
100% that God knows every single thing. The first question absolutely depends. I believe that the Bible is more of a mirror to your own personal heart if you read it and then and talk about it. It's a mirror to everybody's heart.
So
And
do
then,
you think that
but
it's
the
true?
truthfulness of it totally absolutely depends on your definitions, which if you look at the definition of marriage defined by the legal system in America today, you can absolutely say, well, look, men can marry men and women can marry women now in America. So the definition of marriage is wrong in the Bible. But the Bible don't have a regular definition of marriage. Actually, marriage, according to the absolute biblical understanding, is any two people that have intercourse.
Or
Two men
multiple,
have
right?
sex with each other.
How
They're
many how many
married.
wives how many wives did
Two,
Jacob have?
however many he had intercourse with, they become one.
Two,
If
right? And
he
how
had
many
one
how many
wife,
wives
them
did
two
Solomon
become
have?
one. He had 600, so they all become
Right.
one.
So marriage is just basically like if you just like get it on with somebody, you're married to them essentially. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Is that
if you're swapping spit, you become one.
So
is that a technical definition of marriage? Like, I know not necessarily like
I don't know that it's
in the
not. Chat,
dictionary, but
chat,
is it in the
correct me if I'm
Bible?
wrong, but there's not like a really defined version of marriage in the Old Testament. I mean now you would claim them, right? I think it was like unspoken in that context. But
Well,
do
it
you
is
get
spoken. I mean, all right, I would argue that there's three genders outlined in the Bible. Three genders. Now, there's male and there's female. And then Jesus describes the other three types of people which are called eunuchs. Some are made, Jesus says that some are made eunuchs by other men, some are born that way, and some decide to be eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven. So
so
basically, a eunuch is someone who does not have sexual relations like a male and a female typically should. So, and a lot of these eunuchs in the Bible, there's a bunch of them, and there's a lot of them that serve in high positions in king's courts, and
So are you
they,
familiar
you
with the Talmud?
know, I've heard of it. I've heard it's like the oral
So
Jewish tradition.
it's like the like you take the Hebrew Bible and there's things in the Hebrew Bible that aren't necessarily explained, and so then they are explained by rabbis in the Talmud. So it's like an expansion of and a commentary. Like in our modern Bibles, we have like the annotated version of the Oxford in our SVU, for example. The
Right. Like, well,
Talmud
I
is
got a
like the expansion. So what you're talking about are things that are kind of like expansions, which is cool, which is cool. But like what I'm interested in is like how do you know this is true? Like what is it that makes this true for you? Like for example, like why is this true and some other mythologies not true?
well, well, that 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 word mythology, as I understand it, absolutely qualifies it as being in the fiction section. I wouldn't consider the Bible a work of fiction.
Why not?
I
Why
believe it's a
wouldn't you?
work.
Why would
I
that's the
believe it's a
question. Why
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
scholarly
yeah,
you
yeah.
work
consider
What?
the Bible a work of fiction? Why wouldn't you consider it
because,
just like how do you know that there were dudes that got inside of a horse in the Trojan War and according
yeah.
to Homer defeated Troy because they escaped from this wooden horse versus a talking snake in a garden or a child that was born of a virgin and didn't actually just get raped by a Roman soldier named Pantera.
Oh, is that a story that's going around too?
Oh, it's been
A
going around for
Pantera
2,000
Roman.
years. Uh, but yes, it is going around.
Oh, yeah. I've never heard that story,
You should
and
do a little
yeah,
research. Pantera,
I don't
Roman
like that story
soldier.
at all. So
Anybody who wants to
is
research it
is
should check it out.
so is the Chosen based on that version of the story?
What do you mean by that? The
The
Chosen.
Chosen. Have you watching any of the Chosen movies? I haven't.
I don't know that I've seen the Chosen
No.
movies.
But yeah, I don't believe that. I believe he was born of a virgin. I believe that an angel announced it to him and to Joseph. Uh, I don't
Well,
know. Has
if I
this?
can
Well, I
interject, and
believe
I
I
haven't
believe a
been
hundred
super
percent.
active in this
I-
conversation. Sorry, Clay.
That's all right.
So you've been talking to my husband a lot, and I wasn't actually sure at first. Like, I wasn't sure if you were for real, and now I think that you are. Um, I think you have a lot of really interesting perspective to offer, and I'm very interested in it. It's getting a little bit late here, and we have someone else in our queue. So
Okay.
if it
Well,
doesn't offend you, can I ask you to maybe like subscribe to us and come back on another
sure,
time and we can pick this back up?
sure. Okay. Can I offer one more
Please.
one chapter to read? And I
Yeah.
think it's the most important chapter in the entire New Testament. It's
Okay.
First Corinthians chapter 13. It's only 13 chapters
I
long.
actually think I know that one. So he's not here to run the computer, but I think I know First Corinthians 13. I think it was my favorite when I was a Christian.
Okay. Well, I hope you become Christian again.
Mm.
I mean,
But what's your
accept the
favorite
Holy
part? What verse
Spirit.
did you want to start on?
Well, we can start at 13. And now abideth faith, hope, love, and charity. Charity
Mm-hmm.
or love. These three, but the greatest of these is love. So that's what Jesus brought to me, and I hope that's what Jesus brings to everybody.
Well, and I don't want to sound insensitive. I'm glad that what you find in your belief is the love. I think that I want to say this correctly because I don't want to. I think that to me gives me a little bit more. Oh, my words are failing me. I appreciate that you find the love in the religion and that that's why you are still in it. Let me just start over and rephrase it completely. I think I have like studied myself out of some of that, so I'm a little cynical.
Right.
But the fact that that's where your belief and your like approach to even talking to us is coming from, I think
Right.
that that's very positive and very, very beautiful. We were just talking about he wanted to leave us with First Corinthians. He's gonna hopefully subscribe to us and come back because we
Yeah.
have someone else in our box
Check.
and it's getting late. But let's just read a little bit of First Corinthians with him real quick before we move on.
Any particular chapter?
And don't
He just wanted to
forget the
start at the
First
beginning and talk
Corinthians
about how the
3:16.
greatest is love.
That's the verse about the witnesses, right? Oh no, this is great. Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? And honestly, thank you. I appreciate you leaving us with that. Clay, definitely come back. Thank you for your insights. We appreciate you. Okay. Clay dropped, but honestly,
Well, we
great point.
appreciate
Oh,
it.
dang it. I didn't actually put it on the screen. My bad. Boop. Boop. All right, we have another caller in the chat. Let's bring them up. And even though we should be able to read their name, it's always a surprise for
Yeah,
us.
it is Seth, maybe?
First of all, are you over the age of 18? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm old enough.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me?
What
yes,
should we
Is
call
it
you?
Seth?
Seth is
Seth?
good.
Wonderful.
All right,
Thank
Seth.
you for coming and thank you for being patient.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Seth,
Been
go ahead.
And so are you a believer?
yes,
Okay, great.
yes.
Who or what God do you believe in?
I believe in the Christian God. I believe Jesus Christ is God, the embodiment of the Word of God. You know, divine moral law, spirit, the Holy Spirit, all that.
Okay.
It's a little bit different than most Christian denominations you'll get or find because I do my put most effort into removing the idea of magic from the scripture as I read it and interpret it. Like
Thomas
it's specific.
Jefferson style.
Makes a lot of sense.
I-
Like, let's take the fantastical out and figure out what we can like build on, like realistically, right?
Yeah, it's a whole thing about. Have you heard of Spinoza's God?
I've heard about it, but I don't know the definition. So please, tell us in the audience, unless you know, like what do you like? Tell us what we should know about Spinoza's God. I've heard of it. I just don't know much about it.
It's basically almost a form of panpsychism where everything is God. You know, like as a total sum of that's it's very natural. You're not going to
Sure,
be
sure, sure.
seeing
So
things
like
that
kind of
don't make
everything
sense
around you,
because
everything you can sense and feel and experience.
yeah, like whenever God performs a miracle, it's not going to look like magic. It's going to make sense. Like the rainbow,
Okay.
we have a natural explanation for it now. The uh this miracles that Jesus performed, right? I believe that a lot of it is meant to be in a sort of Schrodinger's cat type situation where it's meant to point towards the life that Jesus lived. The most important miracle was he set the objective moral standard. He demonstrated for us how to live best. And the other miracles are just to transmit the message, right? They're tangential to the point.
So in this scenario, do we know like what of the biblical narrative was true and what was not true?
Yeah, the Bible does a pretty good job of standardizing how it's written well enough that we should be able to discern what is true from what feels good. And what I do is I try to be very skeptical of whenever a vision is involved in unfulfilled prophecy. And that helps a lot, really. Like a lot of revelations, it stops, the whole Bible makes more sense when you keep it in a real frame. And it makes it easier to pick out the stuff that is obviously like, okay, well, that's more useful for institutions than it is guiding an individual.
So, in that context, and I can definitely understand the frame that you're positioning this, do you get whiplash between the Old Testament and New Testament in terms of the Yahweh of the Old Testament being the Father and the Yahweh of the New Testament being the Son?
Yeah. So, um, it's crazy. The Bible starts off with an origin theory, right? And morality isn't mentioned until the second paragraph. That's still really early, but it's given us the beats for how it's supposed to be read, right? And this first stuff, it matches up with scientific cosmology beat for beat. It's got the mechanism and sequence exactly. In the beginning, we do have a space time origin. It's called the initial singularity. And in the beginning, God, right? We have the grand unified theory, which is about the unification of the four fundamental forces, which is where we get the whole idea of Spinoza's God, that the natural law is emergent from this one force that can't be described within any singular domain of science, by definition, supernatural. So in the beginning, God said baryonic acoustic oscillations is the phase that mass energy had to be in, or that light had to transmit through the mass energy because there was not enough space for there to be light. Then the Thomson decoupling let there be light. So beat for beat, up until it mentions morality, all of this cosmology is correct. And then when it gets to morality and goes all the way to Jesus, it keeps building. And then after it goes past Jesus, we keep looking back to it and agreeing in post with the Constitution, with the Geneva Conventions. It's crazy.
So, do you believe that, just to set like some groundwork, and I assume that the Spinoza's God has different belief structures based off of individual like interpretations, but like, do you believe a few things? I'm going to ask a few questions. First of all, do you believe in the like literal translation of the Bible in terms of like the creation story? And of course, you can say yes, but it was, an allegory for, allegorical is obviously fine. Do you believe that the Bible's inerrant? Uh, do you believe, and then like, I guess just where do you decide like this was a story, this was an allegory, this was true? Like, because what I see is a lot of like, well, the Old Testament's a bunch of fun fairy tales, and yeah, they were meant to help us along our path, but the resurrection is 100% accurate. Like, where's the 100% true? Where's the allegory? Where does that happen within the biblical narrative?
Yeah, so the Old Testament, especially, got two different parts through it. The origin theory is very unique in it, that first section of Genesis, and it signifies when the morality, the narrative compression of moral arguments start, right? That's how the beats go in all the stories of the Old Testament, is it starts with the narrative compression of the arguments used to make the law, so that way we can think critically on why those arguments were formed and continue to build upon it when we make new laws. It's all about preserving that information.
So do you
And so,
believe? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Continue. My bad.
that does tie in a little bit to where I'm on about with the resurrection and about how miracles are a Schrodinger's box of they're not supposed to meet our expectations. They're not magic. When Christ is resurrected, he is resurrected through the word. He's resurrected right now through me and you talking. If we accept Christ, we understand him, try to know who he was, even despite the difficulty of that, then we will be on the path to that moral objective standard.
So when you were talking earlier about like the moral laws, so like the laws that so first of all, do you believe in Yahweh?
Yes,
Okay. So do you believe that Yahweh gave the early Israelites, you can call them Hebrew, Jewish people, Israelites, whatever. Do you believe when the Torah was given by Yahweh that those laws were actually Yahweh's laws, or like are they mistranslations now and we don't really have the original laws
That's a
of
good question.
Yahweh?
so, for the most of it, unless it's coming directly from a prophet, these laws have been argued over, derived, right? We found the goodness in the world, and that's how we know what Yahweh is. Yahweh is good, and we looked for it, found it, and now we're building this description of the moral absolute that is Yahweh from our limited knowledge.
So you
That's just
don't
how
believe
science
that
works.
you don't believe that the Torah was written by Moses.
Oh, parts of it for sure, but
Okay.
there's a lot to it. It's compressing generations of
Do you
history.
believe that the laws in Exodus, Deuteronomy, and Leviticus are like God breathed, or do you believe that they are man made?
They're God breathed, but they are a compromise because of the original sin, right? We started off with so much evil that he destroyed everyone in the world, and we're working our way up from that. Our laws get progressively more moral. We learn what he wants for us because our knowledge was corrupted.
It sounds like you're telling me, okay, I'm going to step back and say, you're, if I'm understanding correctly, when the original laws that Yahweh set out for humanity were spoken and written down, okay, in the Torah, they were written at a time because if you look at the Hittite laws, the Hammurabi laws, the Ugaritic laws, like all these different laws, I actually have a spreadsheet where there's like probably 12 different like law codes that were all written before and during the time of the Torah. They're all the same, right? If you strike a,
Essentially.
if you kill a male, that's free. You pay more than if you kill a slave. If you injure a female, that's free. You pay more than if you injure a slave, right? Like there's all sort like there's
Sure.
the laws and there's spreadsheets out there. People can Google this and
Well, you can show.
thank you to AI. It's out there, and I'm happy to share these things. So what you're saying is these law codes that Yahweh shared that were basically the same as the Hammurabi law codes, only like variants and not far from the variants, honestly. You're saying that Yahweh was like, hey guys, here's the law code that you need to follow. It's not much different than the Hittites. It's not much different than the Babylonians. In fact, it's kind of a ripoff of the Assyrians. But follow these law codes because otherwise, if I were to say don't have slaves, it's going to like blow your minds out of their sockets and you're all going to just like
Seems
die. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It seems bad.
I think that's straight up what happened with Jesus, right? Like that's why he didn't say don't own slaves. He said treat each other as equal. Look at Spartacus. It
So did
didn't really work
Muhammad.
out.
Muhammad was a baller that way too. Good call out for
No,
Jesus and Muhammad. Go ahead.
no, dude.
And
Muhammad,
Buddha.
did you Buddha, I can agree with, like, he is very aligned with truth. That's the thing about it. We can align with truth whenever. Jesus never deviated from truth. So, um, that Muhammad argument would just be a tangent. But the Buddha argument, it's very good for explaining how that whole experimentation works. If Jesus is the standard, how do we measure sin?
So one of the reasons
Buddha,
why you're kind of arguing for Islam right now is that the Quran would have a position, and I'm not Islamic. I'm not a Muslim,
Well, yeah,
uh,
we're not.
but Muslims would say that the Quran argues that it introduces scientific facts that were not in place before it existed. Whereas you have the Old Testament that talks about the firmament, flat earth, the dome, and we can go into those verses if you want me to show all the viewers what you're going to try to argue against. But we're talking about flat earth, dome, but you're saying the reason why Yahweh told the people, no, guys, there is a flat earth, there is a dome, you should have slaves, you should treat women as property, is because Yahweh was patting them on the head saying, you little monkey humans are too ignorant to understand future human intellect. You guys just do your little thing down here, guys. Now, if Yahweh in freaking Genesis or Exodus or Numbers or Deuteronomy were to say, hey guys, just like you're not supposed to eat pork, which, by the way, modern archaeology knows which cities or tells now were Israelite versus Canaanite based off of the number of pig bones that are found in the tell. Because God said, don't eat pork, don't have tattoos, don't have graven images. He could have said, don't have human as property. But what you're arguing for is saying that because these dumb monkey humans were like too far below intellect, that Yahweh had to like pat them on the head and say, no, you're not there yet. Go ahead and have slaves, follow the Hittite laws, follow the Hammurabi laws. What are you talking about?
it was a bit more strict than you're framing it. The
Hmm.
flat Earth stuff is not expressed in the Bible. They're
Okay, let's
colloquialism.
pull up some verses.
They're
Yeah.
colloquialism for the
Continue.
Hold
cardinal
Go ahead.
on.
No,
directions
Hold
no,
on.
go
and
ahead. Go
moral
ahead.
pillars.
Hold
They're
on.
colloquialism for the cardinal directions and moral pillars. It talks about the roundness of the earth, which there is a translation which can use it as a disc, but that same word means sphere in Hebrew or Greek, whichever one it is. I forget.
It's in the Old Testament, it's Hebrew because Greek wasn't invented until 332 BC in the Hellenistic period of that time period. But go ahead, continue.
There's different sources for it. Like they use the firmament argument, they use the pillars of the earth argument, and they
Well,
use
there's
the four
definitely a
winds
firmament.
or four corners argument. Yeah, but the firmament could be like any fucking four things. Like there is a halo that when you see the horizon at the right angle, same friggin'
So you think it
rainbow
wasn't
math.
like uh
So, okay, rather than pull up the flat Earth thing, because obviously there's flat Earthers out there, and for the viewers, it's not because. Okay, let me just actually, I will pull this up and just like show some verses so that people know that I'm not just making stuff up. There's a reason why flat earthers are a thing right now, and it's because they believe, uh, let's see, how do I edit? Stop sharing that. Okay, share this. Okay, here we go. Okay. Backing out of this, I'll show some verses on the screen that talk about obviously like the flat earth and like what that actually means. But let's
Isaiah
back.
40:22 says, "Circle of the earth, interpreted as either a sphere or flat disk. Four corners means cardinal directions, but is interpreted as literal corners." And then there's stuff about the pillars of the earth, which is, like there's colloquialisms and metaphors which are idiomatic to the specific region in which this text was constructed
And you're
being
saying this is
involved.
the same exact reason why Yahweh said that you must still be able to have slaves. You're
No,
arguing the
that would be
same.
a Tower of Babel thing. That would be a language barrier thing. The
But
reason for the moral evolution, the evolution of law, is basically just that the world is unforgiving and we just don't know. It's why we are forgiven for not knowing. Now that we do have more knowledge, we don't have an excuse and we are held accountable. And that's why the laws existed in the first place. We knew these things were absolutely wrong and we could not do them.
can you explain that better? What do you mean by that? We couldn't do them better. What do you mean?
We knew these things were absolutely wrong and could not do them,
What
right?
things were
Like
absolutely wrong?
in Numbers, there's two different passages. Part of the reason why I hate the New International Version is it'll talk about the assault of a woman that is unconsensual, and it uses the specific R word in Hebrew. But then the next passage, it talks about a consensual form of that, which violates the guardianship status, right? Like she's owned by her father, and you take her virginity, you pay the father 50 shekels. But the New International Version calls it assault because of the way consent works between guardianship.
Which
When the
version do you
previous
think's
one,
better?
yeah, no, that's what I'm working on with discernment, right? This is a personal accountability thing with knowledge. We know that the laws were made, right? Like they weren't just magic and this is how it's going to be forever. The covenants are like that, but they're a whole different thing from the laws of man as established by Moses and such. Because Moses, when he talks to God, he's listening to the people, right? Like that's just intrinsic one and the same. It's a compression. The exodus of the Hebrews, that is a compression that didn't all happen overnight. There were generations of people being exiled, being enslaved, like Egypt, North Egypt enslaved South Egypt. It wasn't just the Hebrews, and they all were at some point to form these nomadic tribes, either exiled or escaped or stuff like that. And so the Bible is really information dense once you break past that
So do you
surface
believe
reading.
that there was a mass exodus, or do you believe that there was like waves of exodus? And do you believe in the parting of the Red Sea?
It was probably both, and the parting of the
How?
Red Sea, there was people leaking out, and then the pressures built until there was a more massive shift,
So you think
and
that there was
then
like people leaking out, and then eventually there
yeah,
was like a mass shift.
leaving.
Did Moses have anything to do with any of
They
this?
were leaving Egypt. Probably.
How do
It
you know whether or not
Moses.
that's true? So you seem a
I
little
don't. That's the
wishy-washy.
thing. I'm working. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like Schrodinger's box of miracles.
So the Old
The big
Testament's
point is
true mostly or not true maybe, like on a scale. Okay, let me just ask for the audience. And please be honest, because at this point you've said enough that I think people can probably gauge their own assessment and not judge. So for example, I believe that the Old Testament is maybe like, and actually just, I've never actually asked myself this question. I think that historically, the Old Testament is probably 20% true in terms of what, like, of the narratives and the stories. And I'm just throwing that out there. I'm going to do a better assessment tomorrow. But if you were to say on a scale of 1 to 100 in terms of the Old Testament stories, in terms of what really happened, not what we're supposed to learn from the stories, but what really happened? What would you say on a scale of 1 to 100 is true about the Old Testament?
Well, what do you mean by that?
So I
It's like,
mean,
what do you
like,
mean
let's
by is
say
it
I
true?
so
Like,
I
as in,
so
if you read it, you will know
let
history?
let me tell you. Okay, so I don't believe that Moses created a 10 plague scenario with God. I believe that there was a remembered tradition of the Israelites when Egypt ruled all of Canaan from about 1600 BC to 1100 BC before the Sea Peoples invaded in 1177. And I believe that then, once the Israelites got pushed back from the late Bronze Age collapse, that the Israelites, as part of Canaan, formed their own society, and they remember being released from Egyptian control and being freed from the bondage of Egyptian slavery, and then formed their own society, and that there was probably a king named David that probably had a son named Solomon that ruled probably Israel, but then got merged into Judean ideology. And then when the Assyrians took over Israel and they fled down into Judea, that then the tradition of David and Solomon got adopted by the Judeans during the reign of Josiah. So I'm putting about 20% of like Old Testament like reality as accurate. So what is your percentage of Old Testament reality in your like Spinoza's version of the Bible?
Yeah. I stopped measuring. So I used to be like hardcore Baptist, just the way I was raised, believed it 100% verbatim, right? I left that and I stopped measuring it by that kind of truth. And I look at what is the moral value of it, because that is more important than anything else in this world, right? I can't measure the value of the Bible by things that I can't experience.
So your answer is you don't know.
Straight up. I can go through history and all of it,
Well,
but
hey,
this
I don't
in and
know
of
is a
itself with
fair
the
answer.
witnesses,
I don't know is a fair
yeah.
answer. Honestly, I appreciate that. By the way, Clay, I would love for you to subscribe just for the fact that we would love to talk to you again. We do have another caller in the box I want to bring up. But Clay, you brought some excellent points. I'm going to personally like research Spinoza because, quite frankly, I've heard the term, but I don't know much about it. And you were very like insightful and intellectual in this, and I appreciate your like position.
No problem. Yeah, I appreciate you too. That's been a
Yeah,
very pleasant conversation so far. The
please
best.
feel free to come back. I'd love to talk more. It's getting a little late here, and we want to grab our last caller because I don't have a whole lot of steam
We've
left.
got work in the morning, but you've been awesome. Please come back. We like people like you that have the knowledge and like
And
the
just
the
like
other
respectful
perspectives
conversation.
and the
We really
respectful
appreciate that.
conversation. Super appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I really enjoyed the conversation too. Have a good night.
All right, have a great night. Thanks.
Thank you, friend.
All right, we've got a couple callers in the box. Let's bring up the next one. And as per usual, we cannot see the name. So we are gonna.
Man, we have got to figure this out.
I don't know. All right, here we go. Is there any chats that we need to adjust?
No, we're good.
Okay, let's go. Let's rock and roll. Here we go. All right. First of all, are you over the age of 18? Can you hear us?
What should we call
And
you?
what should we call you?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes, friend.
we are.
Okay. All right.
That's
Thank
always
you.
tricky too because the person coming up is like, "Are you talking to me? Or are you talking to someone else?"
I tried to change that name to my name is Christopher. My real name is Christopher. Yeah,
Okay, Christopher.
I'm like you guys. I critique religions. I have my own YouTube channel at Captain Skeleton
Do you
Man.
really?
Oh,
Yeah.
What's your channel?
Captain Skeleton Man. I make
Okay.
music.
Oh, okay, cool.
I write theses papers and books. I'm
Very
well
cool.
educated. So I stumbled across your channel because I kind of search, see who's live and religious debates and stuff and see what they're talking about. So I saw
Yeah.
Christians. Why do you still believe? I myself, I believe in all the books. However, I don't subscribe to the religions of the worlds the way that they interpretate the books. They're like
Okay.
way, way off linguistically. I studied linguistics for a long time.
Okay.
As I said, I write thesis papers. I was hearing you talk about the Moses
And,
story.
and before you get deeper, can you tell me your channel name one more time so I can look it up before we get
Captain Skeleton Man.
Okay.
Just Captain Skeleton Man.
Cool.
Like I said,
think
I
found you.
write songs and books. A song you might like, since you're atheist in a manner, is I even forget the title myself. You can check out songs and you'll find them. I write this one song about doctrines of devils and a whole bunch of stuff, and radical Muslims, Jews, Christians, all of them all together, because their doctrines are way off the actual linguistic of the word meaning. So as for an atheist, I once was an atheist in that manner. I practiced it, in other words. I was raised as a Roman Catholic, kind of got away from that because of some things I had seen and asked questions about and never got answers for. I'm almost 50 years old now, so I've been doing this for about 40 years, studying all these books. So I came across your channel, like I said, just saw what you guys were talking about and decided I was going to join and kind of give my perception, because as an atheist, atheists are very logical in the way that they think, like, because you have to have
Or at
evidence.
least supposedly.
Well, you have to, you want evidence for something of a God.
Right,
You don't,
right.
you know,
we want
in that
we want to be
sense.
convinced.
Yeah, and the understanding of God in all of their books is basically your brain. That's what God is. They call it seven spirits, and one of the life itself. Because you and I are alive, we could not even debate any of our surroundings or the world we live in or anything if we didn't have first life in us. So that's what they call the Son of God, is like the life. Through him, all things are made. That's the source of God itself, is life itself.
So
So they
you're
always,
saying like all religious traditions have this concept of like the Son of God or the breath of God, or this like concept of like God's essence that goes into whether it be the
creation.
clay or an animal or something to
Correct.
like make them alive, essentially.
Yeah, the creation of whatever God is going to create, because first there had to be a thought. You have to think before you can even do anything. The thought is always there. That's the source code. Even within computer systems, that you have to enter in something. So that's called the thought process. And then the computer can, or the AI, without we have AI, can reflect that thought that you enter in back into a materialistic, linguistic way of interpreting something. So the thought is with God first. So that's kind of like the alpha. Nothing's made yet. A thought gets produced. Spirit moves over the mayim, or the water. Mayim is like what a woman, it has the egg. So the mitochondrial DNA, and then the man has the sperm. These things need to come together in order to even create anything. Otherwise, the egg alone is not a human, and the sperm alone is not a human.
Is
So-
that like anthropomorphic though, to think that like the universe or Earth for some reason has to adhere to like the way humans like have sex and like create
No,
babies?
because there are species, right, that don't mate. They have in their own selves, they have sperm and egg. They have it, but you have to have those two things. Even though there might be a single species, they still have the two things that are available for them to create another life species of their own seed kind. So that's always there, even though it looks like it's a single entity. Inside the entity is always the sperm and the egg, the feminine
Everything
and the
that's
masculine.
necessary.
Yeah,
So if I'm
well, we call it
understanding,
we would
you're
call it
saying,
feminine masculine.
so you're saying that there's not
So
necessarily,
Jurassic Park.
well, kind of. That's a little different. That's like DNA and stuff. But like, so
It still kind of works
So-
in my mind
so
because
you're-
I love dinosaurs.
you're saying she does love dinosaurs, but you're saying that like so you're saying that like Christianity is not necessarily right, Islam's not necessarily right, Judaism, Hinduism, Confucianism, take all the religions in the world, and I have a friend that loves this, and actually Islam, I'm starting to learn, it does a great job of this. And in fact, anyone who wants to subscribe to the fact that like all religions tree up to one God should really look into Islam, because what you're saying is all of the religions tree up to one God, and it's like the one true being, and we're all like programmed. Is that what you're saying?
Let's look at it like this. So in nature, right? Nature, we mostly have male and female species that are actually separated, and then for plants, they have pollen. The wind blows, the pollen blows. You have the masculine plant that produces just the pollen. That blows in the wind and lands on the feminine, which is like basically the egg or whatever the thing is going to be called there. And it gets pollinated, and then they create. But let's say, for instance, that is actually not the original copy. When you come across a species or a plant that's a singular entity, I want to pull up the actual, like the word that we can use, right? Like what they call that, just to make sure we can understand.
Yeah, totally cool.
What would you call a single species that produces both sperm and egg?
Asexual,
hermaphrodite in a manner.
Yeah.
A hermaphrodite species.
Okay.
So let's say that the hermaphrodite is the original copy. We're like a branch off of that. So in the Alpha, when it says that God is one, how all books say God is one, or all oneness of God and all that type of stuff. I believe what they're referring to is the original hermaphrodite type thing, where they even have, if you look at a black hole, observe a black hole, the only way you can see the black hole is because there's the light that's outside it, and this is getting like pulled into it, and it becomes down into a single entity. So then they'd say, oh, that entity blows up into a big bang, and then everything gets separated out from that singular entity type thing, or the hermaphrodite in that manner. Which in human genetics, there are hermaphrodites that are also born as well amongst the egg and the sperm from separate humans. Later, their species that they breed becomes a hermaphrodite later on in life. It's very rare, but it does happen. It's an existence. So I believe that when they say the spirit moves across the water, it's that unity of oneness where the only way that I can explain it is a black hole.
So what was this like? So is there so let's back way up here, because what you're telling me is there's because we're talking birds and the bees here, folks. There's at this point, we've got male and female, we've got pollen and receptacles, right? And then we've got the hermaphrodites that were the originals that spurned the two things. But what I'm saying is let's take a step back from that, okay? Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but if we take a step back from that, before all of that, what was God hovering over the waters and created this hermaphrodite / then male female thing? And who is this God? What is this God? Is this some alien doing a science experiment in his bedroom with a universe? And now all of a sudden we've got hermaphrodites and male and female things, or what's the concept?
Yeah. So are you aware that in science now we have made the determination that there's the egg of the female and then that sperm, and when the sperm actually is about to reach the egg, the head of that sperm becomes light. Were you aware of that? It literally
becomes what?
Light. It's electricity. It becomes light. And the science has
I
now
cannot confirm or deny that.
You should look into that, because when I studied that and
so
found
when
out,
the sperm's getting close to the egg, it boom, it lights up.
It's like what do you catch in the summertime and you put them in jars?
A lightning bug.
Lightning bugs.
Fireflies, lightning bugs. Yeah, those
sperms have tiny little lightning bug heads.
Like that. That's what happens at the head of the sperm,
viral, dude.
And it's insane. When I heard that, it's scientific fact, right? Okay, and I heard I never heard it before.
I do not believe you.
Right? I never heard it before. Never got in history, not in class, not in school.
Okay,
ever heard this.
Sperms are getting close to the egg. All of a sudden, their heads boom. We can see light. Is it so that they can? Is the evolutionary reason or the God reason? And this is a better question. Do you believe in evolution in the fact that their heads light up so that they can see the path to the egg? Or do you believe that it's a God reason that their heads light up because they've got the spirit of Jesus? what is the reason for their heads lighting up?
Well, I don't that Jesus thing. I don't believe in, the Christian version. Jesus is God
Okay,
type
actually,
thing.
I should have known that because what you said before, that was actually my bad. I've talked to way too many Christians, so I do apologize for that because you
Oh, no
clarified.
problem.
You're
Yeah.
like it's not like a Christianity thing. It's more of like you've seen all of the different religions and you're kind of like potting them together essentially.
Linguistically, yes, because
Linguistically.
the language from the original writing. So, like what you were telling that guy, like Greek did not come later. There was first Hebrew. But
Right.
here's a thing for you to understand about Hebrew. Hebrew is actually a Canaanite language.
Yeah.
So when they say that Abraham, like in the Torah, this is a corruption in the Torah and with the scholars when they write Abraham was a Hebrew, they use the word as the language. Hebrew's a language, but the real word that was used is Ivri, which means one that crosses over. So when they say Abraham was a Hebrew in religion, they think, oh, Abraham is Hebrew's a race now. No, Hebrew is a language. A man is not a language. So they get that. That's a corruption. I just want to point that out, that you can actually see that fallacy there big time with the language of the Canaanite language and calling Abraham a language. That'd be like if I called you speak English, but I'm going to say,
right.
you're
Englishman.
English. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
like, no. So,
Right.
but back to what I was saying about, the only way I can explain it as an observer, what I have found, because to get a evidence from would be how a black hole works. So
Okay.
in the beginning, they call it the alpha, and then you have you're not at the beginning. So when they write in the Torah, in the beginning, it's not at the beginning, it's not at the end, you're always in this. So what was before is the single entity type thing, which is, I would say, is like more of a hermaphrodite type thing. And when you were saying that God moved on the water, when you actually read it, it says the Ruach, which is that spirit of life. Remember, I said there's 7 spirits, and when they say that the kingdom of God is in you, they're talking about the brain, the essence of the brain. When they talk about the baptism, what surrounds, like you can feel the ground you're walking on. You got your feet touching the ground, but actually the consciousness, the light, that sperm light, is not even touching your body, because you have spinal fluid that surrounds that essence of when if the sperm goes in the egg, and that starts to you get amniotic fluid. So your wife would understand it more than a man, because we're not the ones that have this happening to us. Only the females do. So they get this water forms.
I'm not going to ask you to explain that. But okay, so here's my question. Okay, with all this, because I understand where you're going with this. I don't.
But only the females have what?
The experience. You want to talk about the feeling of amniotic fluid and
The water, like so when the sperm and the egg, those are solid entities. It's solid. So and this is one of the reasons why they retain so much water, because later on the spinal fluid is what surrounds that egg and sperm capsule. And then what happens is electricity comes out from that, and it creates DNA. And then the DNA starts to form bones, and the child starts to form, but it's never, the spine is always separate from your body. So when your brain has your 5 senses gets transferred into your brain, that information has to travel electricity through the spinal fluid into the consciousness of yourself, where that first unification of sperm and egg existed. Now, in that, they call that's the kingdom of God. In you is the kingdom of God. In there is 7 spirits. And here's where the atheists are going to love this. Because what they call God, and anyone can look this up in, I actually wrote it down, in Revelations 4, they call the 7 spirits God. And what are the 7 spirits? The 7
where
spirits
in Revelation? Okay, hold on. Let's pull up Revelation. What are you talking about with the 7 spirits in Revelation?
Okay,
because
Revelation.
Whoa,
We could go to Revelation.
Are you talking about during the birth process? Revelation gets involved with the 7 spirits?
Yeah, well, when Moses is writing, he's not writing in Hebrew, because
you telling me Moses wrote Revelations?
His name wasn't Moses. His name was Cinnamon. Moses is a house, like Tuth Moses. Tuth is the Pharaoh of the house of Moses. So they even got that wrong.
Wait, so a pharaoh wrote Revelation?
No, he wasn't a Pharaoh. He was so you have to understand there's a child in a basket that gets pushed down the basket, a Pharaoh's daughter. Now this is not there's sources outside of this. So you can understand this is not
So wait,
the Torah
the
information. I can go into
that John of Patmos wrote Revelation. That's the Christian.
No. I'm talking I'm talking about the Torah where Moses is the one writing the existence of how creation came about. Like that's Moses writing this.
Oh, so you're talking about not Revelation as in the book of Revelation. You're talking about the first chapter of Genesis. Now, are you talking about the first chapter that was written by the priestly source, or are you talking about the second chapter that was written by the Yahwistic source?
Genesis chapter 1 verse 2 is describing
source. Gotcha.
Yeah, is describing the actual birth of life itself, like how life from spirit realm became manifested as physical realm. And I'll get to that to let you understand the seven spirits. In the seven spirit understanding, you find that in Revelations 1 and 4, also in Revelations 3 and 1, Revelations 4 and 5, Revelations 5 and 6, and also in other books where in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, there are these names of the seven spirits. And here's where you'll understand the name. Because like I say, without life, you can't have any kind of conversation. Without life, you're dead. So there's no
without life, consciousness. You're dead. I can get behind that statement.
Okay, so then we have another thing that enters into consciousness, basically, and that's counsel. And now most people think when they talk about
wait.
Can we pause? Because there's a lot. There's a lot happening.
It's a lot to unpack. Yeah.
Hold on.
And now we're in divine counsel.
Okay, hold on. Can we
just? It took me years to understand this.
Can we go meta?
Wait. Yeah.
Let's go meta. Let's go meta for a second. Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong. What were we supposed to call him?
It took me years.
Steven?
Christopher.
But
you were right. But wait. Guess what? You were right. That's my middle name.
Oh, okay.
You're mind reader.
Christopher, tell us this. Okay, tell us this. So you have done a lot of research.
And
you have a lot of knowledge regarding the text. Can you tell us just like let's all I'm gonna start. Okay, I'm gonna start. I was born into a family that was fundamentalist Christian. I was raised fundamentalist Christian. I questioned it, but I strengthened my faith. I read apologetics. I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I just can't believe in the inerrant word of God anymore as it was presented to me as a Christian text. So then I left the Christian faith. Adele, what was your story? Just level set here, just real quick.
Just like a brief.
Yeah, brief.
I was Catholic, Roman Catholic, very different than him. His family still thinks that I'm a heathen,
cultist,
even though I no longer believe. So I don't know which is worse, having been a Catholic or no longer being a Catholic. Either way, I'm smited. Here I live. I just saw a lot of hypocrisy around me. I don't know. I was really, really, really deep into it, and then I was in a very small town, and
I'll tell you what happened.
Well, I'll tell you what happened was I went to church on Sunday and saw the same people that I saw the night before in a cornfield with a bottle of Boone's Farm, and I'm like, what are you guys trying to preach to me?
Right.
I don't know.
So now here would be
that belittles it a little.
So
but...
well, I'll say let me give you mine. So I was adopted at 3 years old. I was taken from my biological, and I was adopted, and I too was raised very strict. When I'm Roman Catholic, but we were strict Roman Catholic where the women covered their heads. Were you that Catholic on that? Because there's different Catholic.
No, we did not have head coverings.
So I was in the stricter version where we also spoke Latin at Mass. And I was a server. I
Okay.
carried the cross, lit the candles, and like you, I had a lot of questions because, you know, they say if you're not a Catholic, everyone else goes to hell type of thing.
Right.
But yet Jesus supposedly died for all people. So there's
Yeah,
a
there's a
lot of
lot of questions there, right?
contradictions
Yeah,
going on. So I
100%.
question that as well. So, but here's the thing: when you learn the truth of what these words mean, then you discover why you're. Because atheism is not a bad thing. Atheism is something that's questioning everyone else's interpretation of something. And what you guys were absolutely right, and that's what I was getting to. Is the first time we even learned about right and wrong was not from God; it was from our own parents. As a child, when we were being raised by them, they're the ones that get angry at you if you misbehave. You get whooping, you get sent to your room.
And I
It's
wouldn't
not
disagree that
God.
that's probably our first exposure to what we think is right and wrong.
Well, the
But I
concept
also,
of righteousness, right? The concept of righteousness, of
I
doing
think
good, of doing
righteousness is a
good.
stretch.
Well, then doing good,
Correct.
to do
Okay.
good comes from your
Good
parents. Like
versus bad, I could get to more than righteousness. I don't think that every parent is trying to teach righteous versus not righteous to their children. I think good and bad, right and wrong.
well, whatever they view as good and bad, right and wrong as
Sure.
well. That's
And I
subjective.
understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to like break it down to more of a
Well, I'm just trying to show people that usually you're born into something already, but you don't. As a child, you don't understand what it is. Like Catholicism, when I was 5 years old, I didn't know what it is. I was just told to go, and I played whatever the role was. You know, I'm not understanding what people are telling me. It's just the thing that you do. Later on, as you grow up, that's when we started having the questions because we gained something. And this is what I wanted to share with you: the seven spirits. We start getting that. As you get older, you get counsel. That's one of the spirits. It's counsel. The other next spirit is
Where do these spirits come from? What is your source for this? Is this
the,
just like in your
your
head, or is this
the
like a
yes
Jewish source, or what
no
is this from?
the consciousness. Remember
What's the
the
consciousness? Is this a book?
no, it's the sperm and the egg. So the egg, the mitochondrial DNA, is what holds the information of what you're going to be. The sperm becomes that light or that spark of consciousness that it animates it. So when you see the rock move
But
across the
but
water,
but you're saying, how did you get this knowledge? Like, where did this knowledge come from? This seems like esoteric gnosis. Where did you get this esoteric gnosis from?
that's where it comes from within. It comes from within.
So
So
are you Gnostic?
no, Gnostics. I critique what they believe as well, and agnostic as well,
So
because
why would the Gnostics not critique what you're saying? Like, why are you above
I have
reproach?
I present
Why do you possess knowledge that is above everyone else's reproach when you can't produce the source of your own knowledge? And
I
why
can
isn't
produce
this
it,
apparent?
but I can produce the source. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
and
Okay,
it's
okay,
because
go
of the
ahead. Go ahead.
sperm and the eggs.
I'm giving you that's the source, right? So within that light, when you're reading in the beginning the roch, the spirit, and that's life itself. Life is
breath.
moving across the mayim. Mayim, the letter mim in Hebrew, is feminine and it means blood, chaos, or water. So you understand that even in when they say in the blood is the life source. So if you
Can
drain all
you
your blood,
imagine, like, 12,000 years from now, people using the King James version of the Bible are going to say, like, but guys, in the English, they meant water. And it sounds like water to us today, but
yeah,
water means gun. And you know what I mean? Like, it's like you're
yeah.
like using this weird, like, esoteric, like, but the sound of the word, you
Well,
know what
it's
I mean? Like,
there.
it's like
The original's there. You can
we're
go to a
talking
museum.
2,000 years ago.
Yeah, well, when you get it, okay. So let's look at all books. Every book in the world. Who wrote books? Men. Most books, including your religious books, are just history of man's experiences. That's it. It doesn't mean that they all contain truths, but in life, you can analyze a book and extrapolate from the book something that you can test scientifically. Does it have meaning? Is it a truth in my life? So if it says thou shalt not steal, they can make a claim that that comes from God. It's godly. It's found in the book. It's the word of God. I can extrapolate that in my life. And let's say I stole from you And then let's say now you're going to come after me. Now I put my life in jeopardy, so I can consciously and observably say stealing has repercussions and it is wrong. So I can say that that is a truth in the book because I can. It's an evidence. You understand that? That's why we have laws today, because of evidence of these acts that humans can do. So all books is just acts and history of men, but not all things in books
So you're
are
above
true.
reproach. You are above. So you have taken a stance, and big W to you, honestly. Because okay, so let me posit the position that I think you're in, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. So if I were to understand the entirety of the Hebrew religion, and then I were to understand the entirety of the Christian religion and the books on both accounts, right? Because
And
canon of both,
and the language is important too. The
and the
language.
language, right?
That's the key. That's good. That's the. I have a thesis I write. It's called the perception fallacy. So perceiving the words that are written is a key to understanding.
Right. So you've got the Hebrew text written in the Torah. You've got the Greek text written in the New Testament. You've got the Arabic written in the Quran. And then, you've got you take
Mandarin.
all the different languages of all the different religions, and you
Studied them.
as a person, let's call this person Christopher. He is standing above all of these texts, and he's saying, I understand all these texts and I'm looking at them holistically. Now, you, Christopher, are not unlike most people in that, and I don't mean that condescendingly. I mean that, how do I say this? Reinforcingly is not the right word, but I mean this in a way where I have a friend who says, yeah, you can poke holes in the Old Testament, man, but like God is God. And just because, the Old Testament like has holes in it doesn't mean that the God of the Old Testament wasn't God. Look at the Quran. Look at Buddha. Look at like what happened with like this part of history. So like they're taking these like concepts of God and plugging them in. It's almost like a weird God of the gaps, but plugging it into history and like making it a holistic like religion. So basically what you're doing is you're standing above all of the text, all of the religions, despite the fact that Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the light. No man gets to the Father except by me. Despite the fact that people put black cloths over people's heads and shoot them in the back of the head as apostates because they don't believe the true word of Islam in the Quran, you're saying, fuck all of that. God is just God of all the texts. He's above it all. He had a hand in all of it. Kumbaya. It's all harmonious. Like, how do you respond to that exactly?
Well, God is life. First of all, it doesn't matter religions. I don't care about names. People come. Remember what Jesus also said. He said, many will come in their own name. That's religion. That's what we have today. Everybody's coming in these names of religions claiming that they have truth. He comes in the name of God. What is the name of God? That's
what
key,
is the name of God? What is the name of God? Tell me the name
hang on
of
a minute.
God. If you can't say the name of God, I think you are
I'll get there.
Shit.
I will get there, right?
Okay.
So you
get
use
there relatively quickly.
You're using the English word.
Patience is limited.
You're using the English word God. I don't know what you say when you say God in my
Yahweh, Allah, God, Elohim.
Yeah, that seems like
now,
a cop-out to say you don't know what the word
the
God
one that is the
means.
power. Do you have some special name, or is it just God? Say God if you don't have.
No,
a
it's not
name.
God. It's not God. It's generic in linguistics. So at the first moment that man created language, alphabet, the way that it's written for the understanding is there's seven. There's seven of these things.
All right.
And now
we have another caller in the chat.
You have
going to bring up.
Okay, but listen, let me finish. There is seven spirits. You and her could not even have an argument without the spirit of life itself, the knowledge, counsel, understanding, wisdom, And with all that, you can get power in the world, and then you must fear he who created all of that. So when you say there's no God and you're standing there with breath in you, you, sir, become a liar because you didn't create that. You didn't create those seven. The seven made you. You didn't make the sperm. You didn't make the egg. You didn't make anything in here. So as an atheist, which I once was, I discovered my own fallacy where I'm trying to be the one that's rising above everybody else. If you say there's no, what you say G-O-D, I would ask you, what is your interpretation of G-O-D? Because your interpretation of G-O-D is not mine. And my God, I can prove. You can't prove what you were in your religions. You can't prove that. And that's what you're using to make your argument. You're using that to make an argument.
Hold on.
I have the truth to refute the
getting
atheist.
Fired up.
And you get mad about it. And now you want to throw people out. I'm well aware.
This is good.
No, I'm well aware of what you're doing. You're recording it right now. And if you don't want to show this, by the way, I'm recording it as well. No, you won't. You'll kick it out, and because that's what this is a weird URL. I understand the YouTube how it works. If you don't like it, if it affects your channel, then you don't upload it because you pre-record it. I'm well aware of how you work, and it's a shame. It's a shame when people come here as teachers or even question other people's beliefs to do that type of thing. It's wrong.
First of all, we don't pre-record you. We will post
It says right here, uploading recordings, stay in the studio. I see it right here. You think I don't know how streaming? I run my own channel.
Your chat, Christopher.
It doesn't matter whether you post it or not. I'm still going to post this.
That's
and then
fine.
I'm going to critique what you guys are saying. I made no claim. You made the claim. It's right here above you. You see that? That's called a claim. You're using, why am I a Christian still? That's your claim.
Of that. I thought we were having a conversation, and then
no, because you want to leave. You said you got somebody. You never let me even explain why. I believe
acted like we were attacking you, and that
you are. You want me to go like the guy before was rambling, and you threw him out to bring somebody else, and now you're doing the same thing because you can't debate what I have presented as physical evidence. So if you want evidence as an atheist, I would ask you, what do you accept as evidence? What would you accept as evidence that God exists? That's on you. That falls on you now.
Have you given me anything that's actually evidence that God exists?
I gave you physical evidence of the human body, of how scientifically it's created, and we know it academically and scientifically. You don't believe it? How did you come here in the world? You didn't come here by sperm and egg?
Christopher.
You see how the fallacy that you're in? You see the fallacy? I don't even think you understand the word fallacy, do you? Do you know what fallacy means?
Yes, I definitely know what the word fallacy means.
Do you see your fallacy then?
What?
Do you see your fallacy? Yeah or nay? Okay. Yes. So when you try to debate people's beliefs, understand this. If you're trying to refute as an atheist to debate beliefs, you're using a word that is only found in religion. Because if you're truly an atheist, the word God, Yahweh, Elohim doesn't even exist in a true atheist vocabulary. So your definition of what you're trying to refute is what someone else in a religion has already presented. So that's your greatest fallacy, and you don't even realize it as an atheist.
Christopher, would you be willing to have more conversations with us?
You wouldn't even let me explain to you the seven spirits, because without your brain, you cannot even have life in yourself to even observe anything here. That is God. That is God.
Argue with people to the point where they just kick you, or will you have another conversation?
I've got. You don't even know how many channels I've got, and like I said, I write
Christopher,
papers.
Will you come back?
We are asking to have more conversation with you.
Will you?
I don't even know when you go live. I don't even know when you,
because we're too scary.
I'm not afraid.
Christopher, are we too scary for you? Christopher,
would you like to come to my? Would you like to come to my channel? Would you like to come to my channel?
I would love to come to your channel.
Okay, I'll hold the live. What time you want? I'll hold the live tomorrow. What time you want to come?
Our email
No, just come to my channel. You have my channel.
Yes.
I don't use StreamYard like this. I post the link.
Find your channel
I just removed it.
if you
That was so
subscribe to us.
dude.
This is annoying as shit. Like, we were not disrespectful.
Holy shit.
We're ending our live stream.
I have never had that, actually.
That was a lot of like sperm
Wow.
excitement.
That was a crash out. That was our
That was
first crash out.
definitely our first crash out.
We got our first crash
have
out.
no idea.
Yes,
we were
got
having
our
a
first crash
conversation and
out.
we said, "Hey, it's getting late. We might need to wrap it up."
man.
And all of a sudden, you guys can't listen to my sperm argument.
Oh wow.
Holy shit.
Dude, H enter, dude.
I cannot actually
Okay,
tonight go
H,
longer.
Hold on.
H, we love you
Can I pull up H just to tell him I
for
love
a
him?
minute. Yes.
All right. H, we just added you to the chat. I don't know if you heard that. We only want to add you for the fact that we love you.
Should I take it up a notch?
What was that?
I said, should I take it up a notch? I'm just kidding.
What do you got? What do you got about sperm?
I'm not going to comment.
Where does semen come from?
Oh man. I mean, he had some
Well.
good points. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
wasn't even mad about the whole thing.
There were good
I
points.
couldn't do it all night long.
Oh man.
Anyway, you guys have a good one, okay?
Oh man.
Thanks, friend. Hey, come back again. We'll
H.
be back on Thursday.
Dude, come back.
I just can't go later tonight. It's
Yeah,
been a long
we
week.
are-
We had
we
a
are
funeral
talking-
yesterday. We're just a little laggy. So
But H is one of those.
Yeah,
for
H
any
has
followers,
been-
H has the intellect and the knowledge. Yes, thank you.
My IQ is at least 350.
God, no.
No.
Of
Well, I'm very
course,
sorry to hear
semen
about
actually, I
your
thought
loved
comes
one.
from the backbone.
I had an IQ that could like maybe relatively. Oh shoot! I hope this isn't the same guy that just.
It is. It's
All
fine.
right, we're tapping
done.
out.
Yeah.
But H, thank you. Come back. We will try to go live again soon. And yeah.
Yeah, we should be live again Thursday, and we should be able to do a later one. We're just a little. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay,
Thank
you guys have a
everyone,
good
for
one,
being
and
here,
very sorry to
and
hear about
research
your
your
funeral.
Sperm
Research your sperm.
sources.
All right. See y'all.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
That was amazing.